It's Friday, and what that means on the Splash Play channel is it's time to draft on all the draft platforms today. So we're going to spin the wheel, see where we're drafting first as we run through the half PPR sites, the PPR sites today. Underdog, DraftKings, Drafters, going to hit them all. And of course, we are presented by Drafters, so go check them out. Total points PPR, their format there. No playoff pods, no luck needed. Just 17 weeks of pure scoring there. You get your shot at 500K up top this year in their Drafters Best Ball Championship tournament. I finished the top 100 and also finished very well in their playoff best ball this year. You should be playing on Drafters if you're not. So make sure to check them out. Let's get into it. Let's spin the wheel and see which site we're going to do first today on this fine Friday. All right. Sponsor wins. Okay, we're going to have to fill this room out. So Drafters coming first. Audio code. Does this part. Let's go over to Drafters next. We're going to talk about the Week 17 schedule as well as the overall schedule release stuff. Let's hop into a Best Ball Championship main event first. Fast draft here on Drafters, and probably you're going to be able to draft along with me in this one because I have to assume the room is not filled. 3 spots left here. I also have a Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skull 316 IPA, the new version of it. Look at this big 316. It's actually, I don't know if you can see it on camera. I'll zoom in real fast. It's a pretty cool can. It's got like a black matte paint to it. I'm not like a beer can slut by any stretch, though I am certainly susceptible to being wooed in by him. But it's like a really cool can. So shout out Stone Cold Steve Austin, not for the domestic violence stuff, but for the pro wrestling stuff. And let's see what we get going here on Drafters. Shout out all you guys here on Friday. Hope you're having a great time where you are. It's been pouring all day. I did my NBA stream a little bit early today because it was just pouring and I had nothing else to do. And it's starting to feel that vague lack of motivation that comes with a rainy day. But rain cleared out. Skies are sunny again. So that's what life is like, right? But 2 spots left on Drafters here. Also, one thing you want to check out if you are on the Splash Play Discord or if you are on my Odd Shopper page, where I think it's linked in the description down below, but it's a new thing I'm putting out where basically all my NFL alerts, also my rankings will be on there as well. And that's what you get on Stochastics Odd Shopper Tales if you want to go subscribe on there instead of through YouTube. But I also have this little playoff cheat sheet, which you can frankly also grab on YouTube if you really care to. Basically, this is my little cheat sheet here with Week 15, Week 16, Week 17. Obviously, some big games coming up in Week 17. Some ones up top you can see right away. Arizona, Cincinnati looking pretty good. Atlanta, Rams looking pretty good. Frankly, there's a lot of compelling matchups overall. Buffalo, Philly, Carolina, Seattle, maybe not the highest scoring one, but frankly, 2 teams that defenses. Well, Seattle should be better this year. Carolina, I'm not so sure. Chicago and Niners feels pretty potent. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, not so much. Dallas, Washington, maybe. But Dallas side, I would worry about a little bit more. Denver, KC feels more defensively minded, but certainly could put up some points if the offenses play well. Point being is, like, you can see all the schedules here. We can go through them all while we wait for this Drafters room to load. There is still 1 spot left on Drafters, so you want to get in with me here. Let's keep going through them. Excuse me while I cough for a second. All right, so we got Green Bay, Baltimore. I feel like that one being more playing down in total would not be surprising. But certainly I would expect that to be a high 40s total, I think, based on the offenses, at least of what we know of right now. And Green Bay's wide receiver core maybe makes that come down a little bit more when time comes. Houston Chargers, I would think, would be a lower total game, but the Chargers defense likely better in year 2. Houston as well, I think not necessarily showing the signs of a team that's going to be an explosive offense with the coaches they hired. But still added some weapons on offense. Maybe that ends up a high total game. Not as obvious one as some of the other ones that we've already talked about so far. Indianapolis and Jacksonville. Jacksonville's offense should be better. Defense probably also not very good in year 1 of the Liam Cohen regime. Indianapolis, though, I think has a shot to be more live at controlling the pace on both sides of the ball this year. So certainly can be some outlier scoring in that one, but wouldn't be one I would target as like a must-have, high-priority Week 17 game. And the draft is starting on Drafters here, so we'll let the clock get going. We got a minute and a half. We could cover all the games for Week 17. KC, Denver, we talked about. Chargers, Houston, we talked about. Rams, Atlanta, again, in a dome as well for that one. That feels like a game to me that could put up 60 points and it wouldn't be shocking. So for Rams, Atlanta, I feel like that's a game stack you definitely want to get in the mix for your Week 17 stuff if you are building, in particular on DraftKings and Underdog, where that EV for Week 17 matters a lot more. Whereas on Drafters, Week 17 matters a little bit less. But still, I think if you add that on top as a little mini stack, not a bad thing to have. Vegas and the Giants, that one could go either way. I would think that feels more to me like a low 40s total than a high. Miami, Tampa Bay, we'll see what Miami does this year, but that feels potentially like a high 40s total game. Minnesota, Detroit, that's got to be 50 plus, you would think, at least based on what we saw last year, and certainly don't expect things to be too different this year. New Orleans or New England and the Jets, that feels like low 40s no matter what. Jets could certainly be more open offensively. I don't expect New England to be no matter what, bringing over a lot of Tennessee principles. That feels like a low 40s total game to me. New Orleans and Tennessee, I think that one is live to be a sneaky shootout where people won't have the stacks that much. Cam Ward, I'm a big believer in. Kellen Moore and the coaching staff for New Orleans coming in, a big believer in that. Less so in Tyler Shuck, but that's what New Orleans, Tennessee is going to be. And at Tennessee, too, would be nicer to have it in the Dome, but that'll be fine. Giants, Vegas talked about. Jets, New England, not that great. Philadelphia, Buffalo, definitely a huge one. Getting sides of that feels pretty good. Buffalo receivers late with Jalen Hurts stacks or Saquon Barkley up top. That seems pretty reasonable to get to. San Francisco, Chicago would think that's a higher total game with the Niners defense probably being worse this year and Ben Johnson hopefully improving Chicago. We got to talk about Chicago too with the revelations that Caleb Williams almost forced his way out of there. Point being though, some very obvious games to try to get to. We'll talk about that throughout the entire video, of course. But let's get to the drafters draft here. The first one in our three-step journey here to draft in every best ball platform. Shout out to all you guys hanging out on a Friday too. Appreciate the super chat. For guy Post-Egen Stoner, not Stooner. That's not a word. For the Red Bull and Cannabis and Snacks Fund. I'm not a Red Bull guy, but certainly we'll take it for the Cannabis and Snacks Fund. Buffalo, Philadelphia, sneaky, terrible IMO. I don't know, man. You have two teams there that are basically assumptive Super Bowl contenders. Wow, Malik Neighbors at 3 feels batshit. It'd be nice to get one of these RBs kicking back to me, but I don't think that's going to happen. We're going to end up getting fucking CeeDee Lamb at 6. I don't think Buffalo, Philadelphia is terrible, though. I would really disagree with that one. That feels like one of those measuring stick games at the end of the year you have. Maybe the terrible part could be if both teams are so ahead for first place, but maybe Washington regresses in year 2. If Washington's not there in the NFC East, I'm not sure that anybody else will be good enough to really push Philadelphia in the way they're going to need to be. But I think for that, like, unless they're both running away with their divisions, I think Buffalo, Philadelphia to me would be one of the most obvious, like, high potential scoring games there. I guess so. I mean, snow is a risk, but there's not a guarantee of snow. It did not snow very much last year for both those teams. All right, so we got CeeDee Lamb. You shouldn't worry about weather this time of year. Obviously, a dome is safer, but you shouldn't worry about it. CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs. Lamb, to me, again, should be pushed down by adding Pickens. The fact that this offense won't be that good either way. Jahmyr Gibbs feels overrated as well. I'll take my share of CeeDee Lamb here. I fucking hate it. I hate that, like, somebody did something fairly insane, like taking Neighbors at 3. I don't benefit at all from it. That's the worst part of things. But CeeDee Lamb, the pro case for him, and frankly, not a lot of pro case I would like to make for Dallas. You get Washington in week 17. Washington should be a team that's able to put up points and hopefully playing for if not the NFC East, a likely wild card berth. So I think that's a positive for your final season, end of the season matchup. And also they were terrible in the secondary last year. They should be better with some of the changes they're making on the defense, but how much better are they going to get really in 1 year? I'm not sure about that. For CeeDee Lamb though, I think the big hope for him is that this offense probably good in PPR points in particular on drafters. I expect it to be a low ADOT offense with the Brian Schottenheimer influence there. He's always been a West Coast play caller there. McCarthy kind of dragged him kicking and screaming with the need to get the ball downfield more in the last couple seasons in Dallas, but I don't think that's the way he wants to play naturally. And that'd be my assumption too when you hire a tight end coach as your new offensive coordinator coming in. So I'd say for Dallas, that's my main concern. Now you add on top, like Pickens is there, and Pickens in a contract year, he's going to demand targets. It also could, frankly, go really well for Pickens, and maybe he commands so many targets that it hurts CeeDee Lamb's outlay, and then maybe draws attention away, and that's a way to make CeeDee Lamb more efficient when he was not very efficient last year with a pretty low EPA for a wide receiver who is, a quote-unquote star. But I would say for him, too, the other side of it would be if Pickens gets mercurial, if things go poorly there, you're still throwing targets his way, but they're not efficient. Lamb is now getting shorter targets. He's not getting as many deep opportunities overall. He's also in a less, aggressive offense overall. I think those are a lot of things that could be working against him. And frankly, Dallas being not great next year, it wouldn't be a shocker, even if they could certainly play closer to the middle of the pack, I think, with a run-heavy approach if they can get good results out of the shitty RB core they brought in, plus Jaden Blue. So I think for Dallas, I'm just not huge on CeeDee Lamb. He's really one of my least favorite picks in the first round. And I have the same, vague concerns with Ashton Genty, and where rookies are and how they get overvalued at this time of year, especially. But really out of everybody in the first round, CeeDee Lamb is probably my least favorite pick. So that means we got to take him sometime because he'll probably win all the money come the end of the year. We got a pick coming up here. I've got a Stone Cold IPA. We've all got something going. Let's see what Zook Lelouch does here. Come on, Zook Lelouch. I don't think we need the full clock in round 2. That's my personal belief. And he times out on H-Chan. Sick stuff. All right, so we got Lad McConkey here. I feel like a lot of debate about Lad and where he should go on Twitter lately, but Twitter, a cesspool, so you don't really need to worry about it. But the 1-2 turn is where some people feel like McConkey should go. I think he's very appropriately priced here around late teens, early 20s. Also do like Trey McBride, but I feel like I'm doing an out-of-type draft here. I'll take Lad McConkey. We started with CeeDee Lamb. We'll take Lad McConkey in round 2, and we'll keep building receiver for now. Fortunately, not going to get any of the RBs I like, in particular, Bucky Irving on the way back, you would think. We will see. We got to show some love if you're watching this one live or after the fact. Please subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Again, I'm still dealing with idiots from various things over the last couple months, but I still push through here and do the work as much as I can in best ball. And of course, that's going to ramp up as the summer goes on as well. But on Fridays, my goal is to every Friday do a draft on every platform, because that's one of the things I can do, because I'm not now being bought out entirely by one site. And we are presented by Drafters, though, so check them out. Brand Drafters supporting, showing kind of what the best ball ecosystem looks like here on Splash Play. Again, a great platform I'm drafting on right now. I've had great finishes with a lot less entries, including a playoff best ball, where I literally did 3 drafts on stream as part of a partnership with them, and then ended up finishing top 12 in the playoff best ball tournament for a few grand. Really nice stuff happens like that on Drafters, because you are drafting against a, I would say, less sharp pool, just a smaller pool overall. But also the tournament format allows kind of, if you are good at this stuff, your natural abilities that can shine through more. Frankly, if you're also a little bit of a chalk donkey, some of the builds there can work better too, where RBs up top going to look better on Drafters. Elite players going to look better on Drafters as well. So big difference between it and some of the other sites out there. Play on Drafters. They are a great site and they do support this channel. So check them out. $100 deposit match right now. Link down below, or use the promo code SPLASH over at Drafters. All right, we got McLaurin here, which would set up some more fun stuff. Josh Jacobs, a little bit of a slide. I feel like if I'm just building out of type team, I would draft Josh Jacobs. Getting McLaurin in the late 20s would feel a little bit nicer here. Getting Jaden at 40, 43, hopefully here on Drafters would be nice as well. Definitely is my first thought process, but I think no matter what, I'm still going to get enough Jaden Daniels overall, this year. I think the price tag being up, not going to make it as easy for me to get him as I loaded up last year on stream. One of very few people to do so. But do think for Jaden Daniels overall, I'm still willing to pay the price tag this year, though setting him up, I think would have been nice to do. Would have been annoying though to take McLaurin and get sniped on Jaden. So I'm okay with taking Josh Jacobs. McConkey to the moon. It's hard for me to say to the moon, because Trey Harris, I think, is special talent outside now. And you still do have Quentin Johnston there. I also think as this team gets better, they are going to show the Greg Roman tendencies more and want to run the ball more. If the defense can hold up more, I think that's another thing for them too, where that's something where they would love to be able to rely on the defense and let the running game take care of itself as well. But you have Justin Herbert. They're still going to take shots. I think that's always be the case. Just my concern is, like, when you add a Trey Harris to the mix, Quentin Johnston should be improved in year 3, even though I imagine Trey Harris displaces him a pretty good amount, or at the very least, they're competing for that outside role. I would say that's sort of like my main concerns for McConkey, is that the defense last year just wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. That made them pass more. Now you're adding in real weapons as well alongside McConkey, and for whatever flaws Quentin Johnston had, you now have him plus another guy who was an elite target earner at Ole Miss and the most efficient receiver in the class. I think those are not great things for McConkey, because for a little PPR guy like him, you want to have him have just the full run of the castle, have the opportunity to basically get every target that way. And then also, if he breaks some big plays like he showed he can do down the stretch of the season, then great. Then you have that layered on top. I don't know that that's going to be there as much in the big play category, because you are adding, like, Trey Harris, I think, is going to be one of the better big play receivers. So I don't feel like McConkey to the moon, but I think he's okay at this price range. Like, he and T. Higgins go next to each other in this particular draft. That's totally logical to me. A lot of people doing with a ton of drafts here, by the way. This guy's 77 drafts in. This guy's 35 in. If you want to see what guys doing a lot of drafts are doing, maybe a good guys to watch out for. I don't know if they're good or not. That's a lot of volume that we've already put in with this tournament being open less than a month. That's crazy. People fucking love drafting teams, man. Like, I get it, obviously, for somebody that's done this for years, but it's crazy, like, how much people love drafting teams. I feel like, like to this level, at least, you got to pace yourself a little bit more, I think. We got James Cook, DJ Moore here. Not the biggest Cook fan. I think the holdout's going to drive him down to the 50s, maybe 60s over the course of the summer. DJ Moore, feel like also going the wrong way as well. Omarion Hampton kind of coming down a little bit because people don't know how to price him and Najee Harris together. We will go DJ Moore here. So a Lamb, McConkey, Jacobs, DJ Moore start. We got nothing correlation-wise, right? We got Dallas, Washington. I should have taken McLaurin maybe for the Dallas-Washington correlation, though on Drafters, that doesn't matter very much. But that would have been one way to do it different. Team so far, though, Jacobs, Lamb, McConkey, Moore. Feel like a pretty well-balanced team. Definitely not like the funnest clicks to me or the most fun clicks in a draft right now with these 4 guys. But I think the team is well built. We soaked up the faintest bits of value, I guess. It's fine. How often does Greg Roman split carries? Curious to split between Najee and Omarion. I mean, I think it's gone multiple ways to them in the past. I would still think for him that for those 2 guys, you're probably getting more Najee in the beginning. Omarion Hampton, though, if he really does a great camp. And frankly, my big belief has been in previous years, I've mentioned it, efficient players in college tend to show more in practice than they show that efficiency and what they had that helped them perform so much at the prior level. Then when they get on a team and then they're there in practice, you tend to see that, oh, this guy, especially for Omarion Hampton, is a better athlete than you would think at his size. He's a good athlete. He was an efficient player at UNC. He should flash those skills right away and kind of appear better than Najee pretty quickly. But it comes down to like how much these guys trust. Like how much is that, the thing here? Like, do you trust Hampton as much as you trust Najee Harris and high leverage spots? That I can't say for kind of a boomer thinking team, at least in terms of how I view them for Harbaugh and Roman. So that's a trade-off there. But I personally would favor the upside of Hampton. I do think them being priced more closely. Like, I have a lot of issue with where rookies are priced here. It's been my big thing from doing big board drafts on Underdog to start the year. It's like I just think the rookies are not priced correctly for these situations right now where people are just too excited to take rookies now. They saw last year a lot of rookies won. It was like a lot of rookies won last year because we had a few like legitimately great rookie players like your Bowerses, like your Jaden Danielses, like Neighbors, like frankly, those guys were elite talents. I just think that they should come down a little bit. That said, if Omarion Hampton's going to go 54 here and he's normally got an ADP of 45, I think that works here. Very RB heavy pocket. Taking Cortland Sutton here, getting ahead of wide receiver wouldn't be crazy either, given that we have Josh Jacobs, but I will take Omarion Hampton here. He does correlate with McConkey, and think he's a better pick for DraftKings and Underdog for the late season uprising that he should have. But I think that for him at 9 picks after ADP, we could take it. What are my thoughts on the real-time assistant debate? I don't know what the other, what's the art? What's the art? Isn't it just like RTAs? I don't know what ARTRA is. If it's something different, let me know. But if we're talking about real-time assistant stuff, I think it's fine. I mean, I've said it before on stream when we did a stream earlier in the week. I think for me, the big thing with the real-time assistants is that what they really do is just provide you discipline. To me, it's like a calorie counter app or something like that, where it's like, if you're the kind of person that wants to do that and make sure that you're doing things correctly, it's a great tool to have. For a lot of people out there, though, like once you start not listening to the tool over and over again, that's where you start to kind of undo the good of what it gives you in terms of a median outcome. And it will push you more towards a median outcome. It'll give you good structure, though, relative to whatever you're doing. Like the solver tool, I know does some stacking stuff. The best ball overlay tool, which still have a deal with, actually have a DM from Fantasy Dog Pound about it because they put some new features in. Like that's one too, where they'll show you the bye weeks, they'll show you your correlation, they'll show you some more stuff as well. All the tools do the same kind of general things, but I think because it's ETR, people think like, oh, these guys have had it really figured out. What I got the sense of, and I say this, again, partnering with the solver has been good for me. Like I like their products a lot. I use them daily for NBA when I'm building lineups with my own projections. They're a key part of my process. But I do think with them, when they had that interview with Pete and Brick on Lulz, I think it kind of came, clearly through to me that they put a product out there they thought was okay and they don't think is like going to actually matter that much. And they just want to make money off of it because there are people making money off of it. So I think that for that part of it, it's not solved. What would really solve it, and there are ways to make a tool that I think would get closer to solving what you would want out of it, which is like knowing our guy KY in the Discord has pointed out a few things I think are pretty good. Knowing your other player in a draft room's habits, like if you knew that these players take QB or players ahead of ADP, how often, that would be something that would add value. Knowing combinatorial ownership based on whatever sample size of data you have, that would also be really helpful to know when you're making clicks, so you could build a little bit differently from how the field's building. Those things don't exist though. So like what you have is just kind of a general discipline tool that'll help you get draft capital buckets better and have you not hopefully reaching for people over and over again in stupid ways. It's all positive stuff. So I think that they're good for people, but I don't know that they add as much value as you'd like them to. All right. So we got 2 RBs, 3 wide receivers. Olave here would make sense. Getting Deebo Samuel would be fine as well. Olave, faint trade rumors. Pittsburgh inquired about him. Elite tight end with Laporta. I just don't want to pay the price tag for Laporta this year, to be honest. So I'm going to go Olave here as wide receiver 4. Feel like I'm building a nice balanced room. I think that taking another RB like David Montgomery when I have Hampton could have been logical. But we're going to go with where we go here. 2 RBs, 4 receivers here to start the draft. And hopefully we'll get there a little bit better. It's F then ART. So yeah, the FART is, that's probably not going to add a lot of value to your draft process. Can't lie, I think it'd be fun to have a draft without ADPs, even if it's just 130. Obviously, everyone would still use outside rankings. So it'll be fun. I'll see the different the draft falls. I agree. I think Sam Sherman made a joke tweet about that. And Sam still, despite not being a pro creator or doing a regular content stuff now, still probably one of the most astute guys at making a cutting point at the stuff. I think a draft with no ADPs would be very fun. I agree with that concept. It would be a good time to see how people would do that. It would also definitely reward your knowledge of where a draft board lies. That said, having to enter the thing, like having to type it out every time to get to your player, that would be tough. So you would have to automatically have rankings anyway. But like I agree, like it would be a little thing that there'd be some portion of people that wouldn't come in with rankings. Probably 3 out of 12 people in a draft room wouldn't have rankings set up, and they would hop in that tournament and not know what they're getting into. And those 3 people would get absolutely dusted, I would think. But yeah, if a tournament where you ban rankings and you also don't have ADP, that could be interesting for somebody out there to do. They wouldn't, but it would be, that's like pure chaos in a way that they probably wouldn't support. Again, guys, the goal today here to do drafts on all 3 platforms. So drafters first, we'll spin the wheel again, see whether the wheel wants to do Underdog or DraftKings next, and then we'll hit both of those here to close out the day. But show us some love if you can. Hit the like button, subscribe. All goes a long way for me here. Just one dude running a couple different channels, trying to make it work as best I can, giving people NBA data daily, NFL stuff daily, or as regularly as I can, and more to come from me as well. Doing 2 drafts a week on the Stochastic channel, DraftKings drafts. Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. I'm up in my own draft content here as well. Because frankly, I'm trying to pace myself. It's like, really do feel like there's a lot of creators out there, and it's nothing bad or good or whatever. It just is what it is. Kind of blowing their load early on. And I'll say like Davis in particular, doing like the fucking huge guest stream with like 8 guys booked and whatever. It's like, I don't think we need to go whole hog right now. It's a very long summer. This is still like a stamina based drafting thing. And to Davis Maddox's credit, he's got the most stamina of everybody. Like he's drafting even harder than I did last year. And I felt like I was setting a trend that like was nobody else is going to hit. So kudos to him for like going as voraciously as he is. But I do think for me, like a lot of this balance is like when I have other things to gamble on, I like best ball to kind of creep along a little more slowly now. So that's been affecting my draft frequency a little bit on stream as well, where like I actually am, contracted to a certain amount each month with drafters, and like I have to ramp up a little bit more. But like frankly, like I want to kind of get more in the summer with best ball this year instead of just blowing my load early and getting too much enthusiasm out early. We got Judkins, a little bit of a discount here. Diggs, Shakir, Golden, not my favorite grouping of receivers. Judkins, RB3. One of him or Hampton breaking out, I think, is a decent bet. Don't love the high draft capital and 2 guys that don't feel the most projectable for week 1. Frankly, week 1 through week 8 in particular. But Judkins really just has to beat out Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson, who I don't think is really a guy in year 1 coming out of a Mickey Mouse Tennessee video game offense. So Judkins, to me, we could take here and hope he's okay. He just wasn't that great at OSU based on my numbers. That's how it goes. Shout out, Mr. Mister. Appreciate you being here, and thanks for watching. Let's see. Love blowing my load. I love that Disbanded Brotherhood leaves chats like this, which are just a period, and then he's like this. You're a man of great variety, Pan Brotherhood, and I appreciate the sentiment for it. All right. I wish I could make this like a little bit differently sized. Let's see. I'm changing my StreamYard window. Hold on. I'd like to make the board bigger and this a little bit smaller. But you want to be able to see most of the team still. So let's keep it like that. There we go. That's a good middle ground. But now you're missing a bunch of the right side of the board. No, whatever. I did the best I could. I don't know what you want from me. Make this, maybe make this a little bit bigger on the screen. Yeah, that works. That works. And what you're missing over here is the guys taking elite QBs, basically. You're not missing much in the top right corner. This guy going RB heavy now. Team in the 12 hole. Kind of interesting. Went the Jacksonville stack with Josh Allen to start. 3 RBs in a row plus Josh Downs. Doing some week 17 correlation. Oh, at Indianapolis and Jacksonville here. Again, you don't need it on drafters, but it's not a bad thing. Yeah, interesting draft for that guy in the 12 hole. This guy here went wide receivers a bunch in a row after starting RB heavy. Took my boy Jaden Daniels as well with McLaurin. I'll say some pretty nice little drafts in this room. Sure, somebody's doing something stupid, but I haven't really noticed enough yet. All right, so we need to get some. Well, I guess we don't really need to take QB yet for us. DeAndre Swift would be a nice click here, I think, with DJ Moore on the team. A wide receiver getting bled out a little bit, but I'm not going to reach up for Michael Pittman. I'm going to go DeAndre Swift here. So a 4-4 start through 8 rounds for me with RBs and wide receivers. Got Josh Jacobs, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, DeAndre Swift as RB room. Wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Lad McConkey, DJ Moore, Chris Olave. Look, these are not my favorite players, in particular Lamb. I mean, McConkey I like enough. But Lamb is a start, not my favorite start. Jacobs, definitely not a guy I click very often. I am still team Marshawn Lloyd. Another year of him gaining some health, gaining some trust and all that. Hampton and Judkins, I just don't love the price tags, though I got both at about 10 ADP pick discounts. It's like I can live with the way this team's coming together. Could be a little bit cleaner. Caleb Williams goes to a guy with Odunze. All right, well, at least a logical stack. Caleb Williams goes to a good home, even though I would have probably been okay taking him at pick 102. So the Caleb Williams stuff I think is really interesting. So book came out from Seth Wickersham. He's basically put it out there that, I guess Wickersham put it out there, like he's talking to Caleb Williams' dad a lot and basically saying that they didn't want to go to Chicago initially. The thought was that to not go to Chicago, they'd have to make it really toxic for Chicago to take him and basically bash the city, bash the team, whatever. Caleb Williams didn't want to commit to that, but he really wanted to go to the Vikings and force his way there. So it was like a really interesting reports coming from this book that the reporting seems pretty, thorough and solid on. I think that's one of those things here where if Chicago's year goes bad, like the Caleb Williams thing in Chicago could come to a head really fast. And I think that would be a pretty scary thing to see for people that think this is an ascendant team. We're on the clock here, though. Higgins, Harris, Egbuka, all the rookies here. Luther Burden if I want to get more Chicago. But I think I'll go Trey Harris. I talked him up a little bit, but taking more Jaden Higgins lately feels like he's the bigger ADP riser, getting one of the first guaranteed contracts ever for, I guess, the first ever guaranteed contract for a wide receiver in the second round. That's certainly going to make a guy come up. But I still like Trey Harris, and I have McConkey here, so we have a pretty logical stack that we'll see how badly we get sniped on the way back. Shout out Greg here in the 9-hole. Glad to see you on here. Greg has been on the channel before. Glad to see him back. We'll see what we do here. And again, drafters too. Obviously, you guys feel free to draft me on these platforms. I would say try not to do it every single time because that's when it gets weird for me and the viewers out there. But for everybody out there, hop into the drafts if you can. And on drafters in particular, drafting on stream with me or anybody else out there doing drafters drafts. A little bit less of a bad idea because you're not in the same pods competing. I think that's one of the things that people don't realize does squeeze your EV a little bit from doing always hopping the drafts with stream drafters. If you hop in all Pete Overzet's drafts, you're probably going to advance a little bit less because you're competing against probably a few of the sharpest people in his community that are really, frankly, really obsessed with being seen on screen. So just keep that in mind when you do drafts in general. But drafters here, we don't have to compete in pods, so it just doesn't matter quite as much. Ideally, you want the softest pods possible. You want the softest run out possible. That's the goal. If you could draft and honestly, if you have YouTubers that you think, I guess, are like complete idiots and don't know what they're doing, maybe draft in their streams. Then maybe that's why people try to draft in mine. Who knows? They'd be wrong, but maybe that's why. All right, we got picks coming up here before us. Taking a sip of beer. I got flexibility on how to go. Obviously, got to get QB in. Dak going here does not help me out this much. This guy, unstacked Dak, motherfucker. That's true, Mr. Mister's BBM4 final team was a draft with me. I appreciate that. I don't want to be everybody's good luck, but it can work out that way. All right, we got Najee Harris here if we wanted to complete the Chargers backfield, which I don't think would be insane, but we got to take Justin Herbert here. Got sniped on Dak. This side of the room should be okay at QB, but the drafts right now, my biggest observation of 2025, number one is that people are really dumb about stacking and not doing it enough, even though you do see it happen enough in rooms. But there was like a Twitter thread that went viral of I think it was Sal Vetri asking, what's the thing do you think is the most overrated about football, about fantasy football? People replied stacking. Maybe they're talking about season long. That's possible. But I know there's people in best ball that think stacking is overrated. And it's like, no, it's like the most important thing you could do to give yourself the correlation for just the one game slates you need to win your pods week 15, week 16, week 17, but also over the course of a season. Like if a QB has a good year, one of his receivers probably had a pretty good year as well, or most of them had occasional good games and then, combined together to have a good year. And you probably one of those players. So stacking, one of the most important things you could do. But I do feel like the rush for QBs in this range of pick 90, pick 85 on is it's like fucking blood in the water with sharks. Like people just go and snap QBs up. And sometimes they see the QBs going, they just take a QB because they're panicked about it. I don't know if that's what the Dak Prescott drafter did, but like really, this pocket of QBs, you got to get your QB fast, which sucks because I do like to let QBs fall to me. If you guys watch streams in the past, I like to try to push things as much as possible because I think that's the most plus EV approach. But it is very hard to just let things kind of fall back to you in these rooms lately. Jaden Blue goes at 119 here. Really lofty price tags for an ambiguous backfield. Again, people are very excited for rookies, no matter what draft capital they have in some cases. We got ourselves a Charger stack, though. Nice little well-rounded Charger stack at that. All right, we got Keon Coleman, David Njoku, Tyler Warren here. Really not the sexiest part of things for really anything. Keon Coleman is wide receiver 6. Wouldn't feel bad. Ramondre is RB5. Wouldn't feel too bad either. I do think there's a world where he has utility, at least early in the year. I'm going to go Ramondre here. I think ATN's still too cheap in this range as well. And I do like Keon Coleman, but I feel okay with my top 5 for now. So I'm going to push that. I know most people sub to him for redraft, but talking mostly about, it was a Twitter reply thing, and it was people replying about best ball and fantasy football. So unclear what that guy, the guy who's replying to him is talking about. But there's a lot of people chiming in, talking about best ball in the replies about how they also don't like stacking. And it's like, no, you should like stacking. You should, at the very least, even if you don't want to stack like really flimsy stuff, you don't want to take, Jahan Dotson with Jalen Hurts. You don't want to take Yoshevis with Burrow. Fine, then you don't have to do that part, I guess, even though that's where the stacking really can benefit you in certain situations as leverage against the higher ADP players, come the money rounds. But I do think people in general, I think it's just like a thing they don't want to have to think about. They just want to pick players and have it be like a parlay, and that's not the way to play best ball. It's strongly how I feel about that. You're trying to give yourself as many, little turtles that can get back to shore as you possibly can, or to the ocean, whichever way baby turtles go, you want them to go that way. You just want to give yourself as many functional turtles as possible. You don't want to give yourself a bunch of turtles missing a leg, turtles with a shell. I guess the shell's the most sensitive part of their bodies is what I learned from a Ninja Turtles YouTube video recently. But you don't want guys that are, no shell, that kind of thing. If you know ball stacking is pointless, that's true. If you just know to take all the Georgia players, then you're good to go. But yeah, if you land on the magical, lost numbers and you win, with just player selection, more power to you. Again, I could say, and people can disagree, whatever. I think I'm as good at player selection as most people in the business in terms of identifying guys that are going to be good and mispriced at ADP, guys that are overpriced. And I still feel like if I did that without structure, I would just be dead in the water every fucking year, even with me having major hits on players across ownership. It's just the stacking makes everything come together and gives you a shot at surviving, when you have those weeks. Even bad weeks, a stack could still score enough points combined that you get value out of having that, where, teams just have random players that all put up zeros or, the equivalents. But anyway, that's my thoughts on stacking. Feels like a conversation from 2016. We got Christian Kirk, Tyjae Spears, Isaac Arendo here. Rashad White would round out my solid but unspectacular RB room. Kirk, though, a little bit of an ADP discount again. People may be nervous about Jalen Noel coming in. Those guys both playing the slot most likely, but different kinds of slot plays where Kirk is your traditional PPR, lower ADOT target for the most part. Jalen Noel, I expect to be filling a lot of those kind of over-the-top routes. Tank Dell would theoretically be filling. Think they serve different utilities, but I'll take cheap Kirk here. Currently at the office, trying to not to laugh like a troll about the turtle analogy. Turtles have to go somewhere. That's the main thing. But again, the turtle shell thing, I definitely didn't know until I watched this Ninja Turtles. I think it was on Dorkly or something. And I got it in my recommended feed. And I was like, oh, cool. Turtle shells hurt? That's pretty crazy. Didn't know about that. All about week 16 for me this year. That's how I'm stacking. Different approach. I mean, sure. The tough part is okay, so you get through your pod, you get the most EV you possibly can on making the finals. You are then going against theoretically some portion of teams that will have some micro game stacking, some of that. I still think if you're stacking, you want to stack for week 17 as your primary. And then if you get week 17 correlation out of it, great. In particular on sites that aren't drafters where total points format, you don't have to make it out of pods. You should be doing really be doing no week 15, week 16 stacking on drafters. Week 17, you can do a little bit. And I think it's okay. But I think people want to outthink it every year. I think even Hayden Winks on Underdog put out an article where he was I don't want to, week 17 correlation's gone a little bit too overboard. And it has in some respects, and as much as you didn't really need it last year to win. But But your team would still be better if it worked out well. Like if it wasn't T. Higgins who sucked all season long, like hitting in week 15, week 16, week 17, whatever. Like then it's a situation where, okay, if you had the Bengals offense with Higgins who was good all year and you had the bringbacks from Denver who were good, like that's something where that still would have maybe won you something in week 17. It's just that people didn't get that right or didn't, work together well enough. I still think you want to correlate for week 17 more than not, but maybe not be slavish to it in terms of like passing up better players for week 17 correlation. We have to take a tight end at some point. We also need another QB, though we will have some less than appealing late options. I am going to go Isaiah Likely here. Just get one tight end here. Do like Mark Andrews more. So do the ADPs, but Likely still a similar play as last year, even though I imagine we're not going to have a week like week one very often for him. Of course, that outlier game he had that he never produced again, anything like that. But to give the team a read here while we're in between picks, we got Justin Herbert at QB, Josh Jacobs, Omarion Hampton, Quinshawn Judkins, so rookies and a vet up top, DeAndre Swift or Ramondre Stevenson. Could be done at RB, I think, at this point. Wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Lad McConkey, DJ Moore, Chris Olave, Trey Harris, Christian Kirk, Isaiah Likely. Got sniped on QB a few times here. Chicago, at least we lost the guy that had a player. Losing Dak Prescott kind of threw off my feng shui a little bit because I thought he'd be one of the guys I would get as part of this. But we're okay right now with this 1-5-5 or 1-5-5-1 build that we have, which you can see over here. Forget who reminded me or told me that on the last video, but you can in fact see your draft count on this little left corner over here. And we got more drafts coming up. Again, we'll be hitting Underdog and DraftKings after this, so stay tuned, guys. One for every platform here. We're just starting with Drafters because that's what the wheel gave me. But Drafters, of course, does present the show, and I'll put the sticker up the entire video because it would block a part of the screen. But do check out Drafters, $100 deposit match, a link down below. Check them out. Of course, they are helping me put on the shows here directly, sponsoring the channel here. Every draft I do this year is sponsored by Drafters. And again, the big thing on there is no playoff pods, 17 weeks of total scoring. So if you are a person that thinks you're a big brain about knowing player takes and things like that, Drafters will reward you more for it than the luck that you have to, luck opponent you have to deal with, which works in your favor sometimes, but also can work against you on the other sites out there. So play on Drafters, great site, great partner for me. And again, your money will probably go further on Drafters than it will some other places with the format. And we are coming up here. Again, real tough at QB for me. I am going to have to take somebody who is dog shit. I know who I'm thinking of, but I don't love it. Geno Smith here. Can't really backdoor anything with Vegas at this point because all their guys go before this part of a draft. Josh Palmer here, I do like as a general wide receiver pick. Rico Dowdle, I think a little bit too cheap for a guy who's in the mix in a backfield. It's not as unambiguous as it might seem. Though adding ATN in there is not a good thing. I'm going to go Josh Palmer here. I think he fits this theme of kind of more PPR plays, maybe not as much touchdown hounding plays overall. I'd rather have guys that control more touchdown equity for their teams than these guys, to be honest. CeeDee Lamb really wasn't a great targeter in the red zone last year. McConkey, not one either. DJ Moore, not. Olave, not. Harris, we'll see. Kirk, probably not. I mean, probably not going to be in Houston. Wasn't ever really. And Josh Palmer, same thing. We'll get some PPR points. Yep, definitely. I am thinking Shuck. Oh, shucks indeed. Why do you think Stafford goes like QB20 with his numbers? I think the age, I mean, I was off of Stafford last year because all the back injury reports did spook me. The vague retirement stuff also spooked me a little bit. But now he's back in getting paid big money. I really think that for him, I agree he's underdrafted. He shouldn't be behind AR and Bryce Young. Like, I don't think. To me, his more appropriate range would be probably around Stroud. I mean, frankly, if McCarthy's going at 130, you can make a case that Stafford should be around there. But I'm with you. I think he's undervalued. But in particular, like nobody wants an unstacked Stafford. I think you want him with players. And his fantasy ceiling is a little bit lower than some guys because he's just absolutely not going to run. But, you know, like I also think Cam Ward's a little bit underrated. I think Penix's a little bit underrated. Bryce Young's got enough mobility. I think he could be a little bit underrated. There's a lot of QBs that are justifiable this year, I think. That's why Hampton's the red zone threat. I hope so. Though Najee, you just know, is going to get some goal line work too. But Hampton was great in the red zone at UNC. Let me look at my stats real fast to make sure I'm not talking out my ass. Positive EPA per rush at 5 red zone rushes a game. So 0.11 EPA per rush could be better. Receiving EPA in the red zone is pretty bad for a guy who is a good pass catcher. A negative 0.4 EPA in the red zone. So he really was actively taking a value off the table with that team. But, you know, whatever. Opportunities there for Hampton for sure. All right. Oh, we got a pick here. Roshan Johnson at 173. Okay. Pat Bryant coming up a lot because of the Michael Thomas comps. I don't think that's everything. I'll continue to believe that. We really need to get there at tight end as well. And Mason Taylor has been a comfy click for me at tight end. I'm going to take him again. I feel like if I lose this year, based off my early drafts, it's going to be because Mason Taylor is just as bad as I initially thought. He just wasn't a great target earner at LSU. He is a good athlete, but really nothing stood out to me numerically for his college numbers. Mason Taylor, 21.8% target per out run. Usually guys that have the low target earning in college, like Ben Sinnott was around 26%, and he ended up being like a 0% target earner as a pro so far. Mason Taylor's target earning is really worrisome. 0.28 EPA per target's also towards the lower end of the class, but it's not bad. Like Mason Taylor's not bad. He's just not good either. See, Mason Taylor, the thing with him being Ben Sinnott is like he's going to start. I think that's the positive thing for him. When you ship out Conklin, I guess he could lose to Jeremy Ruckert theoretically. But with the draft capital they gave him and how they've talked about him so far, it sounds like he's going to be the starter. But just he didn't do shit at LSU. Like he really nothing special there, even with the closet being barren weapon wise relatively this year. Marshawn Lloyd goes 177 here. So weird that Lloyd can go in the 200s in some rooms and go 170s in others. Think he is a good click. Better when you can get him in 200, though. Man, I'm going to be really dumpster diving at QB. Yeah, that's the thing with Mason Taylor. There's no competition, whereas Ben Sinnott had very obvious competition. But, maybe there's, I don't know who the Zach Ertz that's floating around out there right now that could go to, could come in, but maybe there's one I'm not thinking of. Yeah, we are in a tough part of the draft for a one QB drafter. I need Herbert to really go lights out this year with the pass game, which is going to be not the easiest thing to nail. All right, we're on the clock here. Think we got to grab Tyler Shuck now. He is a starter. It looks like he'll compete, quote unquote, with Jake Haener, with the other dude who sucks. What's his fucking name? Spencer or something. So yeah, somebody in the chat's gonna say it before my name. Forgetting who the backup is for the Saints that I hated last year. Spencer Rattler. There we go. Spencer Rattler, not a fan of his. Don't think he's got any juice really either. But Shuck was so mediocre in college that I don't really want to be there a ton, even though he is basically free and gonna be starting. You probably got their exact same time frame. I thought somebody would. Shucker, I hardly know her. Thank you for that. Let me see. Just looking at college numbers here real fast. The Tyler Shuck last year, 63% completion rate, lowest of all the draftable QBs / drafted QBs in the class. 78% catchable ball rate, lowest of all the draftable / drafted QBs in the class. 67% on target rate, lowest of all the drafted / draftable QBs in the class. He did well under pressure with a negative 0.2 EPA, but he was also playing Louisville level competition. So how much does that matter? Wasn't great in the red zone with a negative 0.05 EPA there. I don't know. I just don't know what does it for Shuck besides the fact that like Kellen Moore decided he's the guy that he wants to die and live and die with. That's the only thing that makes me go, all right, I'll take Shuck. But like, I just don't. I don't get why New Orleans did. I know I've talked about it before, but like, I don't know why New Orleans would possibly have taken him over Shador, over Dylan Gabriel, trading up for Jackson Dart should have been priority number one for them. He would have been perfect for a dome and the kind of players they have with Shaheed and Olave. I just don't get why they went Shah, but like they must know something I don't, is all I can think of. Catchable ball is my nickname in college. Thank you, Bindles. Yeah. The catchable ball rate is one of the most important things I think in football data you have, especially in college, because it just tells you like who's accurate enough to get the ball, where the player can actually do something with it. On target rate, it's also valuable because then that tells you they got the ball to the guy exactly where it needed to be. But like that one, you can nickel and dime on target. Could be a reflection of the receiver not being in perfect position. Could be the defense putting him in slightly less perfect position. But catchable ball is like a catchable ball. I think there's really not a lot of, ambiguity about that. So to me, catchable ball rate is really important. When Shaw is that low, like, yeah, maybe he'll get a lot of deep balls because the guys he has there, I guess. But he's not talented enough for me to feel great about. Similarly, I'm going to add another receiver in here with Darius Slayton. Might be setting up another QB, might not be, but just want to add some more receiver in here at this point. And Slayton is a guy I'm comfortable with. The adding of Gabe Davis for the Giants is not a good thing for Slayton here. Another outside receiver coming in that does have some ties to the organization, with Davis having his best years under the Buffalo Bills guys that are part of the Giants organization now. But I still think Slayton getting money again, getting a QB that's going to be better no matter what, with Russ, with Winston, with hopefully Dart by the end of the year. I think those are all good things for Slayton. So I'm still in on him no matter what platform. He's been a reliable 18th round pick for me lately. I don't think it was fake, but they're rumored to be bringing him in. It was supposed to be close to a thing, but I don't think it was confirmed or not yet. I don't think it was fake. It was on Roto World and stuff. Let's see. It was in the Post. Yeah, 7 hours ago, Athlon Sports hosting a Gabe Davis dinner for free agency. They're meeting with him. They haven't added him officially yet. But there's nothing stopping him. Like, it's not like there's a big Gabe Davis competition. So I assume that he could go there. And that's reason enough to just not go nuts on Slayton late at this point. Yeah, I think they just jumped the gun on him signing, yeah. But again, it sounds close enough. I get why you might make that jump. All right. Pick coming up here. We've got a 2-5-8-2 build. Definitely need a little bit more tight end with Isaiah Likely and Mason Taylor being our guys. Right now, neither of which make you feel too good. Frankly, I think we still got some good tight end clicks here. Harold Fannin agreed to his rookie deal. As much as that matters. We'll go Theo Johnson here, though. Feel the best about Theo Johnson overall. Giants, again, no matter what, I'm expecting them to be a pretty good offense relatively this year. And I do think that I can set up a Giants stack here for one more QB. So that's the biggest reason for me to add Slayton and Theo Johnson late. And really, you don't get neighbors in a Giant stack. You're missing the key part. But I would say that in particular for your playoff pod sites, your week 15, week 16, 17 playoffs on Underdog and DraftKings, having a Giant stack late that could also end up being leverage against Malik Neighbors for the big money period of things. Maybe Neighbors and Scadaboo if Scadaboo starts going really high. I think it's nice to take a combo of Theo Johnson plus Giants receiver late. Maybe this is the year Jalen Hyatt breaks out. Who knows? All right, we got 2 picks coming up here. Then I'll spin the wheel again. We'll see if we're doing Underdog or DraftKings next. But that's going to be the game here today. So stay tuned for that. But I'm locked into three drafts thanks to our friends at Drafters. Do check out Drafters too. Again, it's a nice platform to play on. Mobile app works well. As you can see here, the desktop notifications also work well. It's the main thing you're looking for to me when you're drafting on a platform, in addition to the fact that you have pretty good shots winning that money up top. I would say for season long, for the main best ball championship tournament here for Drafters, you definitely want to think a little more median outcome. You want to get those Saquons from last year, Derrick Henry's from last year as part of what you're trying to do a little bit more. That's the main thing I would say for Drafters. Besides that, you just have to be a quality drafter, knowing player values, having a few long shots that hit, I think would be your main thing you're looking for. That's that. So it's Disley competing with Tyler Conklin now, it looks like. I think Disley should be ahead in that rotation because Disley's paid a good amount more money. I think like 3x more money. When I was talking about this with Tyler Emo Cowboy before in our Discord. But, I don't know that either is a perfectly safe click. Disley was targeted a lot last year. I played him a ton in DFS because of how often he was getting targeted. And that's certainly something I think that can carry over to next year. I think it's time to take... I think we need Russell Wilson here more than Jackson Dart. Because Shaw, no matter what, will be starting end of year, I would think, for the Saints, unless he's just a complete disaster, which is a possibility. But I think we need somebody to alternate with Justin Herbert more early on. Russell Wilson will start for the Giants, would be my guess, as long as he's healthy. And if he does start, he's going to hold on to that job until the team falls apart or he gets hurt. So for Russ, I think he's the Giants QB to take. If you need production, if you're trying to play for those playoff spike weeks and you have good QBs ahead of him, then I think you take Jackson Dart. But I just need more projectable points here, so Russell Wilson will be my QB choice in this little Giants stack we put together late. Got a round 20 pick coming up. And guys, show some love if you can. Hit the like button, subscribe. Again, still dealing with haters from me just fucking being just being me, I guess. Really, just it's the stupidest fucking reason. So please show some love, hit the like button, subscribe. It goes a long way for me here. As I do the best I can to give you guys my takes for best ball. You can do whatever you want with it, but I show up here and do the work. And my results over the years have hopefully spoke for themselves. But you know, do whatever the fuck you want. Besides playing on drafters, that you should definitely do. Not Stochastic. We'll play on Stochastic too, but play best ball on drafters. There's still people, I still get tweets from idiots. Yeah. It's like, it's one of the worst fucking things. People also have misrepresented it where it's like, I dox somebody. Like I mentioned a guy's city of 50,000 people just to fucking get him back for mentioning coming to my location and then mentioning the town that I live in. So like, I think people don't grasp that part is like, it's not doxing somebody. Doxing is putting out their address. The guy's publicly available name and town are not really doxing somebody, but I wanted it to be a thing just to show like, hey, trolling can go both ways and nobody got the point of that. I didn't make a good enough point of it either. But yeah, I still deal with tweets from morons and I'm like, I just don't. Yeah, like one guy came to the Discord and was like, you and your Down syndrome child. I'm like, you're like this worked up over somebody else's Twitter beef that you're coming in here and insulting my child who has literally nothing to do with A, anything that I'm doing, but B, like with you online. That's the people that are in this best ball community, and Underdog can put out whatever fucking puff pieces they want on like the Roto Grinders news sites about what a great community is and have all the fucking shills give their quotes for it. But like, I know what it is because I've seen this is the third time within a year I've had somebody threaten me who's been an Underdog user. So like, I think that's what it is. But anyway, that's what I'm still dealing with on Twitter. Yeah. And people come into the videos just down like disvote them because they're fucking weird obsessives. And I just don't want to deal with it. I just gamble for me. Like I gamble for you guys who are part of the community too. But like I do this because it was fun. It's not fun. It's not as much fun as it was at least. Anyway, we've got this shitty build. We got one more RB here would be fine. Another tight end I think would also be fine given how terrible we are at that position. I think Noah Gray is going to give you spike weeks this year. We do have Disley as well here if we want to make that Chargers bet. Oronde Gatson also a threat to take some more work. But I'm going to go Disley here. I think we have that correlation. And I feel good about Disley and the work he got last year. And I will just quickly cite the number because it is kind of a mind-blowing number for Disley as target per out run. Disley last year. Where are you at, Disley? Got to look in formulas. I know this is really slowing it down, but I want to make the Disley point because it's like his numbers last year were crazy. So 0.2 EPA per target for a kind of dead tight end. That's pretty good. 24% target per out run though. So that's like you're talking upper echelon of tight end targets as well. Disley last year. Obviously you had a guy like Conklin and it can upset things. He'll be in there just to block, if nothing else, a little bit more, just to keep Disley safe. But I think you'll probably end up with more 2 tight end sets of Conklin. Disley is your starter. Gatson is a risk though. Gatson is a risk because he's like a pure receiver that they might want to get out there in kind of an elevated Donald Parham way. The final team here on Drafters before we do another team on one of the other sites, Herbert, Shuck, Russell Wilson. So got really scooped at QB on a lot of different guys. Shuck correlates, wanted to get a Caleb or a Stroud or a Dak, but got sniped on all of them. So we did what we did. At RB, Josh Jacobs, Omarion Hampton, Quinshawn Judkins, DeAndre Swift, Ramondre Stevenson. Definitely a little bit less volume at RB, but I feel like reliable, projectable guys, rookies with good draft capital. Hampton and Judkins, if they take a while to get going, hopefully we'll have Swift and Jacobs and Ramondre to start the year with a little more upside, but certainly Ramondre at risk of his own with Travion there. With wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Ladd McConkey, DJ Moore, Chris Olave, Trey Harris, part of that Chargers stack. Christian Kirk, Josh Palmer, part of the former Chargers stack. Darius Slayton here is part of our Giants late stack. And tight end, we have 4 here because they are real shitty. Isaiah Likely, Mason Taylor, Theo Johnson, Will Disley, all of them playable. I think Disley in that tier with me alongside Higbee where there's risk for the rookie coming in. But definitely guys were targeted more than you would think is possible last year. So that's my team here on Drafters. Let's spin the wheel here, see what we got to do next. Of course, if we hit Drafters again, we'll do it over. Will it be Underdog? Will it be DraftKings? Underdog it is. There you go. I won't talk over it because it mutes me and makes me sound weird when it does that. The Best Ball Mania 6 here, 20-second clock. Let's do it for Underdog. I am over in a room right now if you want to play along with me on there. 7 spots left on Underdog. And again, Drafters is the one to help me put on these shows. They're not forcing me to just draft on one platform like some of the other sites out there do. That's the big thing with Drafters. They want you guys to have your money go wherever you want it to go as much as you want to have fun playing Best Ball. And Drafters is a great place to do it. Check it out, $100 deposit match. And of course, we'll be drafting Underdog here, but you can play on there too, wherever the fuck you want. That's the thing about Best Ball. You should play different places. Screw those guys. I agree. 20-second clock. 20-second clock. I do like Disley more than Conklin, yeah. I think they both are at risk for Gatson. Like, Gatson is legit, he's a legit weapon. Like, he's a guy that shouldn't be able to block very much, shouldn't be able to do a whole lot in terms of like traditional tight end stuff, at least right away. But he's like, he's like a more of a wide receiver in a tight end's body. So he's a risk for him. But Disley, like in terms of a team like that wants to run, at least in my thesis, wants to have the defense control things more, I think there will be certainly some utility for Disley again this year. We got 3 spots left in this 20-second clap, guys. I'm going to take a sip of beer. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. Show some love if you can. Subscribe down below. Hit the like button. It all goes a long way for me here. Just one dude doing the best I can to show you my gambling and best ball, and you can do whatever you want with the info. But I show up and do the work. That's my promise here. And go check out Unabated, 20% off, link down below. Stochastic, 15% off. Check out the Solver. I think this promo code works. I got to get a new sticker for the Solver. But that promo code should work, I think, for the Draft Assistant as well. And Best Ball Overlay, if you want to check that out. I didn't sync it up here, but you can do that. Oh, this fucking dude is also getting every draft. Again, I'm trying to not care about it, but you don't have to, it doesn't have to be in every draft. And Easy, the obsessed guy from the Badge Bros Hoops channel, lost him in the draft, so that'll be fun with him. But he is a good drafter. We'll see what he does in the 11 hole right after me. Will I deliberately snipe him out of spite? Probably not, but we'll see. Underdog ADPs going to look a little bit different than drafters ADPs, in particular in some pockets. For the most part up top, though, can be exactly the same. Doing a shot at tequila? All right. You are living. Another draft. There's always going to be some kind of asshole in these drafts, but we're getting it on both sides today. Last year, you were diehard Bucky and Lloyd. What late round RB would you like this season? Probably Lloyd again. I would say besides that, it's hard for me to say in terms of like anybody I like as much as those guys, because there really isn't one. Let's see. Let's scroll all the way down. In this range, it would be Jerome Ford right now. He's getting even cheaper. Took him on DraftKings at like a 190 ADP the other day. At 205 on Underdog, I think that works. There's still a chance that he holds off the rookies for longer than you would like and fucks up that backfield in the way that happens every year that people throw out. Justice Hill being the backup for Baltimore, that's a big part as well, I think, of things for me. Again, Marshawn being right there. Shipley people like a lot more than they should. Like, it's not like Gainwell was good last year. He'll take over the Gainwell role now that he's not on the team. But Shipley has a contingent value on Barkley, I think, is a click. But the one, and Estime, I still hold this faint torch for, but I really don't take him that often. But he and McLaughlin have been totally iced in terms of ADPs. And they shouldn't be, given the fact that it's an ambiguous backfield there. And like Estime and McLaughlin can have a great camp or whatever and like hold RJ Harvey at bay. RJ Harvey is also making a pretty big leap up in competition from South Florida. So great athlete, but I don't think there's a guarantee he ends up being a monster there. We've got Amon-Ra, Nico, Brian Thomas here. Easy to go Amon-Ra. So that'll be the first click here. And not having a red badge being 100 of your drafts is absolutely diabolical. It is kind of crazy, yes. But again, if you are unfamiliar, the one guy in the 4-hole was in 33% of my drafts, which are all on stream 2 years ago. Then last year, I had to switch up my draft time so he wouldn't be in every draft. And now I guess he still watches every stream. I presume also downvotes them, which is even worse. Which is like one of the worst dudes. I really just like, the fun has been sucked out of me in large part because of guys like him, guys like the dudes on Twitter. To the Icon's credit, he never has threatened to come to my house or threatened violence upon me. So got that going for him. But Jesus Christ. Shout out ATX Bearcat for joining. Appreciate him being here. He was with me on the Stochastic channel yesterday. Thanks for supporting the show here. All right, we got Amon-Ra, Derrick Henry here. This is new money. A nice balanced team works. Do you think it's entirely possible that Derrick Henry comes up over the course of the draft cycle because people realize he was, in fact, one of the better backs in football last year? Really efficient at high volume. Can I take Justice Hill a good amount? Having Derrick Henry in my portfolio, at least with the field, makes sense. So an Amon-Ra, Derrick Henry start here. Balanced build. We'll see how much more balanced we are moving forward. Not too early for the Bush Apple. There we go. Ford goes undrafted. I don't think he should. I mean, they brought him back, certainly not a co-sign to get a renegotiated deal and whatever. But I do think that for overall with Jerome Ford, he's proven that he at least can earn the trust of that team, even though it doesn't mean a whole lot necessarily when you have a lot of draft capital coming in for the rookies. But, you know, that is what it is. Ford's definitely not going to be an every game click for me, but that's that. All right. And of course, the guy Easy has to post in the Badge Bros Hoops channel because any bit of attention he gets, he just loves it. He loves being in the mix for things. It's very cute to see. It's very cute to see somebody that has to also censor your name on the channel. This guy, the guy drafting next to me in the 11 hole on the Badge Bros channel will talk shit about me, but put an asterisk in Spags so that like it can't be searched or something. Like cornball shit by internet nerds on Underdog will be always the rule of thumb here. But he is a sharp drafter. You could be an absolute dork and somebody I really dislike. You can still be a good drafter. How much I'll tell you. If Rashard Smith's a bad pick, then I want to make good picks. I don't feel that way, man. Too many guys in that room. When you have them adding Eli Mitchell, when you have them bringing back Kareem Hunt, you have Pacheco maybe getting one shot at being resurgent. That's sort of the whole thing that you're looking for the most part. So I would say that for, any player like Rashard Smith who's not high draft capital, you see the pathway to the top of the depth chart, but there's really no guarantee he's going to get there. I really think that you don't want to be going nuts on that, but follow your heart. Rashard Smith wasn't, I think, a bad analytic guy from what I recall. Not great though. 15% avoided tackle rate, 20 touches a game is the main thing that he got going for him in college. 0.09 EPA per rush is not that great. 0.19 EPA in the pass game. Maybe he can get some third down work would be your hope. He got okay work in college, and sometimes just getting the work in college is your biggest thing to getting more work in the future. But that's really the whole thing I would say with him is that I don't think he's special. I think there's a lot of backs in the class that aren't actually special. But the KC packs have always been a trap for people out there. Yeah, just like that. That's how, God forbid, you got to censor my name because otherwise I won't ever know. It's like people mention it to me anyway when you're fucking being weird about it. What's his name from KC? Got me last year, Deneric Prince. Deneric Prince was being, or Carson Steele was last year. Deneric Prince was 2 years ago. There's literally one every year. But it doesn't stop people from walking right into the rake. Not the literal rake, perhaps. Let's make this pick here. We got Kyron on the board, another RB. Elite QB would be okay, but let's not get priced out at wide receiver. Take Xavier Worthy here. Yeah, Prince was, I think, 2 years ago. Carson Steele was the in vogue one last year. The basically not shifty white guy that for some reason people are like, this guy's going to be a dude. And like he got talked up in all the content for a while as well. He ended up playing a few games, but just wasn't good enough. He was converted wide receiver. Are we talking about Deneric Prince again? There is a Chiefs wide receiver every year too. I mean, Justin Ross, people are carrying that one from college, I think. All right, we're on the clock here. Kyron Williams still hanging around. Lamar still hanging around as well. Lamar-Henry correlation is kind of interesting. Brashard was wide receiver. Good to know. I actually didn't know that offhand. Adam always knows these college guys very well. I think this is a Lamar spot. Not crazy about the elite QB at this point when we already deviated for RB. But we'll take a Lamar-Henry correlation. Hope they ping pong. Try to get some Baltimore stacked later on. Probably not going to get Zay, which, I mean, obviously I'd say that's going to be the case at this point. But the start here, Lamar, Derrick Henry, Amon-Ra, Xavier Worthy. So a balanced little team so far. Got elite QB. Going to get 100% of the rushing touchdowns for Baltimore most likely, or 99%. When you have two solid receivers already, feels fine to get Lamar here. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I just feel like my team so far, I mean, my teams feel different this year in general because I am willing to take the RBs earlier because I think the ADP is now definitely a little more trusted overall by me. But I still feel like my teams this year, like I just feel like I'm not hitting the perfect stride of hitting these pockets for ADP, right, where I get enough good receivers in. I feel like my fifth receiver this year is always somebody who like I just don't feel that strongly about. But you know, we got a shot to get better receivers this time. Rashard Smith was a wide receiver at Miami for 3 years and went to SMU, so he's got the Tyrone Tracy game plan. Maybe that'll make people take him even more. Still scarred by that random primetime game from Derek Gore. Yeah, I mean, look, Derrick Henry is, I I mean, again, the numbers to me analytically jump out so much. And the fact, too, that at his age, he had a 20% avoided tackle rate was like one of the crazier stats last year. Is usually guys at his age, you're talking, they fall to that Joe Mixon territory of like 10 to 15% avoided tackle rate at best, sometimes even lower than that, but they keep carrying volume because the team trusts them and wants them in at goal line work and third downs and all that. But Henry, a 0.1 EPA, with as many touches as he got, 0.26 EPA per target. And the first one was EPA per rush. And now it's on 20.4 intended touches a game, got 3.3 red zone touches a game as well. 0.3 intended red zone targets, which is not bad for a guy who just doesn't get a ton of pass game work. And again, that 20.3% avoided tackle rate, like he shouldn't be able to do this at his age. And they frankly shouldn't be paying him 25 mil guaranteed at his age, but some guys can just defy things, I guess. And he, even more than Adrian Peterson, it feels like he's going to be good down the home stretch longer. I mean, maybe the wheels completely fall off this year, but I don't know. If you look at those numbers last year, I don't know what would make you believe that they're going to fall off now. That's my belief. Certainly, probably not an unchalky expectation. All right. We got a pick coming up here. 1120 build, very RB heavy pocket. Jordan Addison, latest reports on Twitter that he's going to probably get 1 to 3 games, maybe 4 for a suspension. Does seem like people thinking it'll be on the lower end for the DUI he got in California rather. And we do have Detroit here, so we can get some Detroit, Minnesota correlation up top. So yeah, I'm going to go Addison at this point, try to ignore the suspension stuff. And frankly, my main concern for this start is that Worthy and Addison, I do think, are more spike week guys, especially with the wide receiver room for KC getting better, theoretically. So that worries me a little bit. We're okay. Time last year was drafting Amani Bailey from TCU as the young. Okay, so you might have been the only one doing that, but people do love the various KC running backs is the main point there. Oh, that home and auto training he does. There you go. It must be. He's got clearly some kind of, probably also HGH. He's probably got really good drug providers. If you look like Derrick Henry does, as gigantic as he is, and you're holding up, it's got to be getting like blood spinning or something. Got to be getting the Rey Mysterio knee treatments at this point of things. Got a pick coming up here. So you got more RBs coming back. Kenneth Walker feels pretty solid. Kamara feels pretty solid. Godwin to round out this receiver room would also not be bad because receiver is going to get uglier. But I do think Kenneth Walker here is going to be my click. I like Kenneth Walker a good amount. I do think that at a certain point, his injury history could make Seattle fall a bit out of love with him, but he had good work last year when he actually did play. So for Seattle, I would say that for them, Kenneth Walker, I would assume, is going to be your first option overall. And then after that, you still have Charbonnet working in. Walker, they gave, 3 red zone rushes a game, 0.2 red zone targets a game. They gave him like legit work. It came down towards the back half of the season when it seemed like they were trying to keep these guys in more of a timeshare because Charbonnet was so good when Walker got hurt. But that's basically it overall, is that there is a situation for Seattle where Walker can be the bell cow, where Walker could get displaced, where Walker could even lose goal line work to Damian Martinez, who is like a legit sledgehammer back. That's how it all goes. All right, I'm okay with this team so far. Let's give it a read. We got Lamar at QB, Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker at RB, a wide receiver, Amon-Ra, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison. Not really soaking up much value at this point, though. Again, with a good drafter next to you, you are going to often find it hard to get value. I don't think that easy here is getting a ton of value either. But not a lot of value in this room is basically the main thing so far. Is it K-Dub or is it? I think K9 is the nickname he goes by. I don't know. I would like him to be good. I would like Kenneth Walker to be good. I feel like he's got a lot of juice. That's the main thing for me. The avoided tackle rate is always something I do hold in more esteem. And he did keep not Kenneth Gainwell. I want to say his numbers. Did keep a 31% avoided tackle rate last year, which would be higher than most guys in the league. Even Bucky was at 21%. And he's, a guy I hold in a lot of esteem in terms of the shiftiness. So I like Kenneth Walker's ability. Just a question of how much they want to get Charbonnet in the mix. Does Damian Martinez actually get in the mix? Because I think he could, even though he is a no draft capital guy. Incorrect. Minnesota, Detroit. We got that Addison and Jared Goff. But let's see. All right, so let's look at the playoff tab here. So for Baltimore, we could get Green Bay guys later on. That feels fine. Marshawn Lloyd, receivers we can get as bringbacks for that. For what we have going with Minnesota, Detroit, we could still take Goff and take more Minnesota guys. We've got the correlation that we need. Got a little bit. We're not going crazy on week 17 this year. Jaden Reed goes, the quote-unquote number one receiver for Green Bay, the only number one receiver who gets a 20% target per out run rate in football. But Jaden Reed at 77. I honestly don't like him even on PPR sites. I think with all the moving parts coming in, doesn't feel the best to me. We're doing okay. What do you think of pulling up Josh Allen to correlate with Barkley for week 17? Wouldn't do something like that early in a draft cycle. Later in BBM, I could see trying to do that, but you just don't know. Like Josh Allen get hurt in training camp, and that could be something where he falls, and like then you're getting him easily each time. So I wouldn't waste your early entries on it personally. 1-2-3-0 build here. Adding more at RB would be okay, but I'm gonna go Darnell Mooney here for some more upside. Minnesota. Well, we'll see if we get on the way back. I just think Mooney had the most upside here, trying to get some spike week potential. And Mooney, I think, is a guy where conversation on him is going to get better as the summer goes on. So I'm willing to reach for Mooney a little bit here. So he's going Cooper Kupp. All the Reed drafters are the Golden doubters. They're totally different players. Like really, Reed and Golden should be, if you want to bet on the highest upside of that, that wide receiver core, those would be the two. I just worry for Golden that he's going up as a low target earning guy in college up against high target earning guys like Jaden Reed, like Dobbs. He gets a shitload of targets from Jordan Love because they work out together in the offseason and all that. Those things would spook me a little, but who knows? Let's see what this guy's going to click. Aaron Jones. Okay. I was thinking Hawkinson. Jones would have been an okay fallback as well. But we got semi-elite tight end here. And yes, Savion too outside. Savion does matter. I just think it matters less that unless they get rid of Dobbs or Wicks, which is possible after Dobbs groused last year about his role. But I think that for point being is like for Golden, there's really a blocker to him getting out there a bunch. Team so far is a 1-2-4-1, building pretty balanced so far. I think I like the team. Lamar at QB. At RB, we have Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker. Wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Darnell Mooney. So hopefully a reliable week-to-week guy, though frankly, Amon-Ra was less reliable week-to-week than you would think for kind of traditional slot PPR guy. Tight end, TJ Hawkinson. So we got Detroit, Minnesota stacked up pretty well. Can add on McCarthy or Goff based upon how things align later on. Goff I like as well. He's on the thumbnail actually for this reason. And shout out to our guy Emo Cowboy, who did post in the Splash Play Discord some breakdown. I think that it was maybe Ryan Heath over at Fantasy Points put together. I think it was who it was. Somebody over at Fantasy Points put together, basically showing like who had the best advantages in the playoffs. And one thing that stood out is like Jared Goff has 3 dome games, which you might not realize going through the week 17 schedule. But basically for him, having 3 dome games, we'll be playing at the Rams, Pittsburgh at home, at Minnesota. And Minnesota, we're expecting to be that kind of divisional, winning the kind of NFC North 50-plus point total game like they had this year. Would think that it's a great spot for Goff as well. So I haven't really addressed that's why Jared Goff's in the thumbnail. Think that he is a QB, got one of the best runouts for him. And we'll see what happens for Detroit this year. Like losing Ben Johnson's going to be huge. Johnny Morton coming in. Maybe he's a genius too. Maybe he's not. He's definitely more of a vet hand, not a boy genius type like Ben Johnson was. Maybe he changes the offense, makes it so much better, but he also could make it something that's not as great as last year. So that'd be the downside of Jared Goff. But hey, dome games, he's got it going. Guys, show some love if you can. Hit the like button, subscribe. Again, goes a long way for me here. I'm just one dude trying to show you my gambling as best as I can. And again, feel free to do whatever you want with the information. I just do my work here and hope that you guys get something valuable out of it. But again, hit the like button, subscribe. Goes a long way for me here. And check out our sponsors, Unabated. Link down below, 20% off. Stochastic, 15% off all the data, all the sim stuff. Link down below. I believe I put the Odds Shopper link as well. 50% off Odds Shopper if you want to check that out. And in particular, check out Drafters. $100 deposit match on Drafters. Great site to play on. Obviously, you got a lot of sites to choose from on here. That's what I try to show you, is how I would gamble on each platform and how I do on each platform. And I'm trying to get my entries in. Drafters is a site that helps you put on the show here and supports there being kind of an open best ball ecosystem. So do check them out if you can. $100 deposit match, link in the description. Or use the promo code SPLASH in the Drafters app or drafters.com. And do that, please, because it does support the show. And we'll hit a DraftKings draft after this one to complete our holy trinity, our unholy trinity. I don't know. We're gonna make a Satan spawn with the next draft. That's the goal here. Just gonna jerk off into a vat of hot sauce. see what comes out. Oh, shout out Tyler here. I was just saying nice things about you. Is he hoping to listen back on Spotify? Oh, I do have to start uploading to the podcast feed again. That reminds me, Tyler. Thank you. That might have been Tyler reminding me backhandedly, but I do have to start uploading podcasts again. Tyrone Tracy here. Ambiguous backfield situation with him for New York. Man. I think we'll take a little more Minnesota correlation at this point with Jordan Mason. Get the third RB in. Would like to get a fifth receiver, but I'm not going to reach up for it quite yet. Let's see if these guys pick around the bend. Fairly smooth draft for Braden so far. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. I didn't know you were in the draft room. Which one are... Wait, Braden, are you in my room? Or are you doing something different? Either way, I'm glad you're having a smooth draft. When I say jerk off, Robert Griffin III appears. Thank you for that. It's the word of the day. It just makes you pop in. Use the hot sauce as lube. Yes, nothing says fun times like getting hot sauce in your dick hole. That's what that's the splash play mantra here on our family coat of arms. Braden's in the 6 hole. So you're Brad Black and Gold. Okay, I didn't know that. All right, there you go. Braden, red badge in the 6 hole. He got Scadaboo. Scadaboo, a much more expensive version of it, but shot to be the Bucky Irving of this year. All right, EZ did not take Rashad Bateman, who I was hoping would fall back to me. So thank you to that wonderful man. We got Rashad Bateman. Come on down. Baltimore stack popping. A lot of spike week guys. Definitely less projectable targets here for this group, but I think we got good spike week guys, which is still the goal in best ball. So we got Lamar Jackson at QB, Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason at RB. Wide receiver, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman. And then at tight end, we got TJ Hawkinson. I like this team so far. I think there's still some very obvious clicks left as well. So we can do that. Hot sauce inside my dick hole, would not recommend. Basically made love to a cup of milk. Jesus Christ. that is a real sir, this is Wendy's response. But you know what? I appreciate Tyler being willing to go there. That's what he's here for. Oh, here, I also didn't read this one. I'll just read all Tyler. It can just be Tyler Concept for now. Satan spawn is what I call it when I jerk it with a hangover shit. And yes, sneaky asking for audio again so I can listen. Thank you, Tyler. I will do it. I'll get back to it. There's really nothing stopped me besides my own laziness, which granted has been a little bit higher lately with just the multi-sports. I mentioned on the NBA stream today, too, if you want to check out my thoughts for the showdown, Boston Knicks slate, it's on the Splash Play Bets channel. If you're not familiar with that one, go check it out at Splash Play Bets. We talked about it. I was trying to do WNBA projections too, or WNBA projections too, because like I thought it might be fun just to have my own projection set. And I saw out there that nobody really makes them reliably. Maybe ETR has them, and I don't know. But there's nobody really doing them. Stochastic's not doing them. So I thought there'd be an opportunity to maybe try and do it. And I did try to do it yesterday for like an hour, and it's like, oh, this is so much more work than it should be. It's like Basketball Reference, unfairly to the ladies, lists the data differently than the NBA version of Basketball Reference. So it's like different columns and shit. It's like a whole thing that is a lot more work than it seemed. And having to do the rotations for WNBA would be tough. But I will say, get mentioned on the Splash Play or the Splash Play NBA show. But I would use unabated data if you're going to play any WNBA at all. If you're going to bet, really do think that they're going to have an edge with that, with Justin Fan and the crew over there doing the same projections they do, because it just doesn't exist and it's really hard to do. Like I thought it'd be easy to do, and it was actually a lot more work. And I got like I could put something out if I wanted, but I don't care enough. More fun to ogle their Instagrams. That is true. That is true. Falcons have 2-3 domes, another in Tampa. Yeah, look, I mean, good for a shootout team for sure. Houston has 3 dome games in the playoffs. Let me see. Arizona, Vegas at Chargers. Yeah, there you go. That would be 3. Both of them, well, 2 of them at home. If it were on the road, it would also be All dome games as well. That's kind of interesting. Christian Kirk, Njoku, Stroud. I'm going to go Njoku here. Don't know that I should have. Just don't love Christian Kirk again. I feel like I get Christian Kirk in every draft room and a little bit fatigued of it. But Njoku, not even really a discount. That was absolutely a 20-second clock panic click. I have to admit that. There's a more logical second tight end for me to take. I didn't do that one. I think that's my first fucked up click in this draft. But Njoku at 130, just still my brain is like, this is still like a nice play at this range, but having Fannin in really does change the equation quite a bit, as is the QB situation. Like the QB should favor tight end, but if you have Fannin in the mix at all, and like they signed him Brighton early, third rounder there. Fannin is a special talent at tight end potentially if you use him right. Worries me a little bit. All right. Tyjae Spears here, Trey Benson. Don't want to really go up and get likely. I mean, I think I could just take McCarthy here and call it a day. Second QB in. Don't love reaching for a guy like McCarthy, especially with Dak here, such a big value. But yeah, I think we have to go McCarthy. Yeah, I was really thinking about trying to make the RB room a little bit better first, and maybe seeing if I could get a second QB that would be different. Penix is one I was thinking of in particular. But I think McCarthy makes more sense with the bet on Minnesota here with the double stack. So, yeah, I can live with double stacks not having their QB at this point because I do think having the unique stack is sometimes enough for you. And sometimes it's your way to vault some other teams in the actual finals. Because I was really watching my best teams like really closely last year and things that I felt like in terms of construction that maybe could have been done differently. So I'm okay taking like 2 Vikings and not doing JJ McCarthy because I'm really not sure what his game-to-game upside will be in year one. I would like it to believe it's going to be like 300-yard passing games like Penix. But I kind of think to me, like McCarthy and Penix, I personally think Penix has less receiver talent, but has better fantasy upside overall because I really think he's going to be slinging it around the yard. It was a good shot. McCarthy still be running the ball a good amount with his RBs. Let's see. DK best ball rooms are whack. Penix went first round one time. Well, people are going to reach for dumb shit. I mean, that's how that goes. And that's one of the things too that people out there will argue, like whether you should allow players to make like really dumb reaches like that. I think the general concept or the general agreement there from people who at least are sharp enough that I would say they tend to think like you want to have those idiots in rooms because it makes it better for you that there's somebody out there that's going to misvalue a draft and you then can soak up the ADP value around it. I tend to think like there should almost be like a training course these guys have to do. I think that would help on both sides where like if you did something that was almost like a tutorial to start and you told people like the basic things that they had to get through and maybe some expectation about the money they will win or not win, you might kind of combat some of the idiocy on social media, people that think they know better and sort of general best practice stuff, as well as just like, what it takes to actually win money in best ball. It's not as easy as it might seem when you're doing it in year one. I think that'd be a great thing. So I'm torn by it because like guy taking Penix in round 1 helps you out, but that guy should also hopefully be educated more if he's going to do a draft. Quentin Johnston going here, 148. Still a decent click. Michael Penix goes to the guy with 3 QBs and no Falcons yet. Heart rates, I think, might be in the chat. I don't know about that, but interesting choice by him. Likely goes, which will save me from taking an errant third tight end because that would have really been a big consideration by me. Instead, our Baltimore bet will just be, well, for now, will just be Derrick Henry and Bateman. All right, AMK. What is this guy going to do? Oh, shout out Tyler, gifting us new members here. Appreciate all you guys being here. Disbanded Brotherhood getting in. Join the Discord, Banded Brotherhood. It's a good place to be here if you are a paying member. Get in there because it just is a value add no matter what. And you get to see all the NFL alerts in one channel too. Rashad White here, I think, is it. 6th receiver. I think we got some receivers we can do late. Let's see Rachaad White here, make the RB room a little bit better. Rachaad White, for the record, I still don't think he's like a talented player. Obviously, I'm still very much team Bucky. If I get Bucky at pick 20 to 30, happy to do it whenever I can. But if you're not taking Bucky, you might as well take Rachaad White. Bucky gets hurt, and it's certainly possible given his size and how much he, could take hits if he's not avoiding tackles at the same rate. Rachaad White hops right in. Sean Tucker, also a viable play as well. That's certainly something where if you don't get Taylor or you don't get White, you don't get Bucky, then taking Sean Tucker, I think would be a viable thing. Just getting any share of that Bucks backfield, I think is like an okay thing to do. So Rachaad White at pick 154, much better pick than he was last year at pick 75. But I said that last year, so I don't feel guilty. We got a 2-4-5-2 here. Feeling pretty good at RB right now, so we're not going to reach up for anything there. I think it's a receiver spot. Definitely some risk for Dobbs. Leggett's going to be in a 3-receiver set no matter what. So I'm going to go to Leggett here. I think Leggett, people are down on a little bit. You add Tet McMillan in, you should be down on him a little bit. But Dobbs, I think if I don't get him on the way back, and I'm not expecting to, if I don't get him on the way back, I could take Savion Williams and feel okay about that. So for me, there was just more outs here, and Romeo Dobbs should, in my opinion, be your outside wide receiver 1, slash your wide receiver 2 on the team. There's no guarantee that's the case. There's no guarantee he doesn't get shipped out of town as well. So I think that for Romeo Dobbs, still like him as a click, but if it's between him and Leggett, I think I prefer Leggett more unless I had Jordan Love. So I'll still get Green Bay correlation later on. We'll have other options. That's just not the one I'm going to get. Wicks is free. I still like Wicks for free. Tyler does shower us with his golden gifts. That's true. What's the worst? Seeing a guy pick Penix round 1, but not being in the spot to take advantage of it and just watching everyone else scoop up all the ADP. That's true. I mean, really the move would be like, if you got London, then maybe you consider taking Penix a little bit early, but people don't think that way. I still love, I think Penix is a great fucking click. And I was not into him last year. Just didn't think the pathway was obvious for him to be starting. He got there, so more power to him. But like the way that he targeted London last year aggressively when he came in, that's a positive. The fact that he is a downfield gunslinger, that's going to be a positive for Mooney at some point, even though I don't think he realizes upside with Penix as much as he can. I think Pitts is still live to, be saved this year potentially, even though he can go the other way for sure. But I like Penix a lot. It's just, it's just knowing draft capital. It's just the basic. That's why I think having that little tutorial thing on an app probably would help them out a little bit. We got pick 178 coming up for me in a few. Golden showers, bring flowers. There you go. Let's see. Sorry about you took, it's right. You are the one that took likely. It's okay. It's okay. Nobody owes me anything in a draft room. It's fine. The only thing you owe me is ideally not being in every single one like the guy in the 4 hole. But what are we going to do? I can't control it at this point. And my play's free rolled for the year anyways. So I'm going to say that very often, but it is what it is. All right. What do we need here? We got a 2-4-6-2. We got Lamar and McCarthy. Very purple team is one thing I noticed in my head. All right, so Dobbs came all the way back. Cool, I'll do that. I would have taken Dobbs at that Leggett pick, 159. Instead, we get him at 178. Sure. We'll just take the desecrated Green Bay receivers stacked up with our Baltimore. Fantastic. That's exactly the way this should work. And that's, again, too, where we talk about week 17 correlation. Dobbs, to me, when I have a Baltimore week 17 stack going, much more valuable than he would be for a lot of other teams. But getting him as a 17-pick ADP value when he's already fallen a good amount of spots, cool with that. Would have taken Hopkins on the way back if ATX Bearcat didn't, but that's fine. Can't get everybody. We got some clicks. We got some tasty clicks to make. I like this team. I frankly think drafting against somebody who I know is going to be spiteful and judging me in the draft spot next to me has been helpful. I think it keeps me more honest with how I draft my team. All right, Marshawn Lloyd, I think would be a good click here. Bryce Young in a 3 QB build is not crazy either at this point. I am going to go Marshawn. Hopefully got that in. Marshawn Lloyd, RB5. We're back, baby. we're back doing the same shit again. 2 QB start here. We got Lamar here, a little bit of a discount, 3-pick ADP discount. JJ McCarthy, Lamar paired up with Derrick Henry, trying to capture all those rushing touchdowns. Kenneth Walker, also on the seam, as a little bit of an ADP discount too. Jordan Mason, Rashad White, Marshawn Lloyd are little misfit toys in the back half of this RB room. At receiver, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, of course, stacked up. Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman stacked up. Leggett's not stacked up. Dobbs is a bring back to our Baltimore stuff. Hawkinson stacked up with our QB. Njoku here. Okay. Brashard Smith's fan club expanding here. Pick 190. In 2023, Rashad White got all the goal line work. So I think it's the case for Sean Tucker if Bucky goes down. It's mostly that there should be another back in there. When Bucky got hurt towards the end of last year as well, Sean Tucker got in the mix. It's just they want to play 2 backs. So when you know a team wants to play 2 backs, even if they give more of the work to Bucky when he's in there, you just take the second back as a handcuff, or you can do it rather. You don't have to always do it. But I think if you don't have Bucky or Rashad White, taking Sean Tucker as RB6, maybe RB7 if you have that luxury, I think it's a good thing to do, because frankly, wouldn't shock me if Sean Tucker played a little bit more this year in general. And then certainly if one of them gets hurt, I think he gets in the mix. It wouldn't just be like one back is going to be, the one getting all the work. Dylan Sampson going 193. That's a better price tag for him. Really think they're too frothy for him, given the fact it is a lot of work to get yourself right from playing in an offense like Tennessee that just spreads guys out too far. Now, the big question is, if I want to add a second Green Bay receiver, do we go Wicks or do we go Savion? I'm actually curious your guys' thoughts on that, because I still think Wicks played in the NFL last year, had like a 30% target per route run rate. Savion had a 32% target per route run rate in college, but was not the most efficient. I don't think there's a guarantee he plays ahead of a guy like Wicks in year one, especially if Wicks, gets better from his mistakes last year. Obviously had some dropsies and all that, but getting the targets is really the main thing. So that's my little conflict here. But I think it's Wicks. Wide receiver 8. Tight, yeah. I think Wicks is live too. I agree. I don't know if he has the exact same role, just because of the fact that you do have Savion coming in, and that could be a guy they want to get targets to right away. Golden will also work in and take those Watson deep routes because he's so fast. They'd be foolish to not have him doing that. But I don't know. I certainly think Wicks showed that he could earn targets, and that if you could do that in the pros, there should be a job for you. Still how I would feel about it. I feel like a 6th RB would be okay here. And like Dobbins is going to sign somewhere at some point. I get him for free today. 3rd tight end or Dobbins. I'm just going to take Dobbins. Find it hard to believe Dobbins doesn't get a job over the summer. We can make the RB room a little bit better. Frankly, maybe somehow he goes to Minnesota if Mason bombs or gets hurt. I don't know. That's stretching. The final team here, though, is a 2682. We're going to go to DraftKings next. We got Lamar and JJ McCarthy. At RB, Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason, Rashad White, Marshawn Lloyd, and J.K. Dobbins to round out the room. Again, he's not on any team right now, but I think he'll go somewhere later on in the offseason because somebody will need an RB, and Dobbins showed he can do that, even though he probably priced himself out of getting a role right away this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown receiver, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman, Xavier Leggett, the 2 Green Bay bringbacks, Dobbs and Wicks here for our Baltimore stack. And then TJ Hawkinson, David Njoku. Again, if I'd taken Likely, that might have looked a little bit better. I think a 3rd tight end could have worked here as well. But hopefully Njoku holds on to his role and Fannin doesn't pass him. That's the hope here. That's the DraftKings side of the equation here. Or that's the Underdog side of the equation. Now let's go to the DraftKings side. And let's go over here. NFL. Best Ball Millionaire. This one, another $2 million to first place. So it is $2 million to first on Underdog, $2 million to first on DraftKings, and then $500K to first on Drafters. So that's your outlay for all the various sites out there. Hopefully this is letting me through okay. There we go. All right, 6 out of 12 spots. You can join this one if you want. here on DraftKings, final stage of our journey. And again, I'm able to show you guys all the platforms at once thanks to our very self-confident partners at Drafters. They're not worried about you seeing other sites out there, which is the big thing. Drafters will play for you no matter what with the total points format. No playoff pods here like you're going to have Underdog and DraftKings. And look, I will be playing on all sites. I think I will be maxing all 3 sites. I don't want to commit to that because I'm not doing it all on stream, but my goal is to max out DraftKings, Underdog, and Drafters big tournaments this year. And I think that's the way to do it if you are playing best ball, if you can afford to do so. So that's what I'm doing on stream this year. Up to you guys, though. But really, for you guys out there, if you are like wondering why you feel like you're good at best ball but don't get the results, I would say check out Drafters, so that that $100 deposit match, and the $20 tournament they have going on there. Because I think the money goes further. Again, that's, I'm obviously their sponsor in the show, so I kind of have to say stuff like that. But with my own results and what I know for people out there as well, the amount of guys we've had who have been top 10, even top 5 finishers in that tournament in this community, I think you'll do well in Drafters. So check it out for yourself. Drafters.com, use the promo code SPLASH or use the link in the description down below. And let's see where we are here. 9 out of 12 spots filled. It doesn't update in real time on DraftKings because why would it? What's going on with Taysom Hill? He tore up his knee, but he is still under contract for next year. So, could go either way with him. I certainly wouldn't have a ton of faith there with the new offense coming in and also Juwan Jennings being signed for big money. People can do what they want to do. Not something I'm going to talk about, Greg. It's not me trying to be like mysterious. It's just legally not something I can talk about. 10 out of 12 spots. What I can say is I think they turn a blind eye to things that happen with users on their platform and focus on the wrong things. And they were, I think, very much in an era of wanting pure sycophancy from the people they partner with. And that's unfortunately not something I've ever provided and was also something I actively negotiated against this time out. So that's where we are. I like to do the gambling I like to do it. I don't like it being just on one platform. I think it's foolish to present your content as such and to also maybe not educate certain users on your platform enough. But that's, general thoughts about things. I think sometimes people can see when the Emperor's clothes are not all the way on. Maybe people out there can too. We got 2 spots left on DraftKings, though, so please fill this shit so I can be done and I go pick up my child on time. Actually, we're early. Wait, no. What is my Apple Watch just fucking stopped working correctly? Said it was 2:05 on my watch, which is not correct. I'm like, God, I have so much time before I pick up Luca at 5 o'clock. But no, I do not have so much time. Please enter this draft so we can get going here. 1 spot left. Who will be brave enough to join? I'll just sit back and not do work in the meantime. There we go. All right. 3 hole here. The bronze medal of influence for me on DraftKings. Sometimes the Emperor has no clothes, severe autism, and a small penis. Yes, let's really tear this Emperor down, but that is true. Sometimes the Emperor does have a lot of flaws, but it just loves to sniff. The Emperor loves to sniff his own farts sometimes. I get it. Oh, good. The icon in here. Dude, can we please stop being weird? You don't have to be in every room. You don't have to be in every room. I can't make this more clear. I'm begging. It's so fucking uncomfortable to do this on every single draft. And still not pay money to the channel after fucking years. Jesus Christ. Anyway, we'll do another draft on DraftKings. Don't be the guy in the 7 hole here. It's really fucking ridiculous. Adam, not good at metaphors or similes. Tell he's not the metaphor. The guy in this, who's not the Emperor, the guy in the 7 hole. He's also not a metaphor. He's a metaphor for how much I hate this space and why I don't want to do streams. That's what the guy in the 7 hole is. Emperor Hirohito. We're dropping bombs. Oh. We're even allowed to say that? I don't know. Curious about Mariah Magazine, though, in the 6 hole. That sounds like one of those women's magazines that would have existed when I was doing a blog. That would have been a Mariah Magazine had this great piece about when Aziz Ansari tried to finger bang a barista. That's Mariah Magazine. I think it's called assimilation. Well, that's what the Borg does. Unrelated to the Borg, I guess, because that's Star Trek, right? I do have to watch the Star Wars Andor show. I feel like I'm going to do that because Alex is out in New York City for tonight. Might try to watch that tonight if I have the mental capacity to do it. I feel like that's been one of the better reviewed TV shows I've seen in a while that I actually don't watch. So if anybody likes Andor, let me know in the chat. Pick 3 coming up for me here. Let's see what we get with Val Saraz picking ahead of me. If you want to see another DraftKings draft I did, and please go watch it if you want more content from me. Check out Stochastic from yesterday. I did another DraftKings best ball draft on there. So going to be doing those twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. On Stochastic's channel. So check it out on there if you want to support the show. And please give me some fucking views. We got Jefferson here. I like Bijan as well. I just did Minnesota, obviously not with Jefferson. I'm going to take a Bijan here. I like Bijan. I really strongly thought the markets would put Bijan ahead of Jefferson with just the question marks around JJ McCarthy. And instead, they're not doing that at all. They're in fact just going, yeah, sure, that sounds great. I like Jefferson. I don't have an issue with JJ McCarthy. I think he's pretty talented. Liked him a lot coming out of college, and seeing Neighbors go high in all these rooms is really jarring me, man. People fucking love Neighbors. That said, Bijan Robinson got great goal line work last year, was efficient, had great targets, had great rushing stats overall, plus EPA guy in both categories, which is hard to do again at that volume. That's why I stole the virtues of Derrick Henry. Even Saquon, though I think Saquon, was he negative EPA in the past game? No, Saquon positive in both, 0.08 EPA per rush, 0.23 EPA per pass. These guys all did fantastic work last year because they were efficient above average while still getting a ton of volume. And for some reason, Bijan, I feel like, is like people are just less enthused by him. Gibbs is coming down a little bit too. And I think people still kind of seem more excited for Gibbs than Bijan. Like, you should be excited for Bijan because Bijan can easily be like one of those historical kind of fantasy football years with Atlanta's offense being better. Exactly. Falcons offense better this year, so Bijan better. It is quite literally that simple. That's how I feel about it. You'll always have the risk of Algier taking some work away, in particular where the game script doesn't require any sort of secrecy really, where it's like, if you don't have to hide run versus pass, you could put Algier in there and just let him run the ball too, and he'll take some work away. But I mean, for Bijan getting like 4 intended red zone touches a game, I believe is where he was at last year. I'll look up the exact number. 3.5 rushing intended touches, 0.4 targets in the red zone. Like, that's 4 touches a game in the red zone. That's as good as almost anybody besides, Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor. He's actually a little bit ahead of Henry in terms of that workload. Mixon got a little bit more, but he's right in that bell cow superstar workload. I just think Bijan's a great play. Think CMC jumped in ADP as offseason continues, or jumps as ADP in the ADP as offseason continues. Fading CMC is the hill I die on. Hammering CMC. Okay, so everybody is all over the place. I took CMC with the field last year, so that was really one of the plays that I was willing to be with. I do think his workload when he came back in spooked me a lot, and it wasn't really just that you had Mason there. It was that they just didn't want to use him the same way. His red zone work in particular fell off the cliff because 2 years ago, he and Kyron Williams were like the leaders in the clubhouse with red zone work by a wide margin. Last year, he only got 1.8 red zone opportunities a game on the run side, 1 red zone target a game. And that's not bad work, but that's not previous year CMC work. He was getting over 5 a game before. So I just think the situation changed for him with having Garendo there. I think you have a legit back to take some work off of them, though probably not in the red zone. And with the pass game too, I think you have enough weapons there. Like, maybe he gets better because I'm losing those Debo, runs / little dink and dunk kind of plays. But I think the red zone work to me is like one of the most important stats. And a guy losing that year to year, I don't think he's going to be. He played like 4, something like that. I could be wrong about that. Let's look up the game log. But it's still, you would still see the workload in the red zone. Oh, here's his little sexy abs. There we go, boys. Picture number 1. Let's see. It's dead right. 4 games. He played 4 games and he had half the workload in the red zone. I think that matters, but people can feel differently. We're on the clock here. We've got our Bijan Robinson start. Bucky here, McBride here, elite tight end in play. I think I'm going to be a little RB picky. I'm not Mr. Josh Allen at fucking 22. Jesus Christ. I'm team Bucky here. Bucky and Bijan, the killer bees. I don't like bees when it comes to titties, but I guess maybe my own. But I do like them here in this backfield. Bijan and Bucky. Let's go. Sandby was never healthy last year and is now just my take, though. That's fair. Look, that's the thing about best ball. I think that's a take. If people sometimes get mad at me because like they feel like I don't give them enough love on their takes. I think with that one, you could certainly make the case either way that like you lose Debo, you get the wide receiver core a little bit worse. McCaffrey should benefit. I worry, though, the defense is not going to be as good, too. So you're talking about less advantageous positions. Them showing last year they don't want to quite jam them into the line as much. Those things would spook me a little, but, you know, whatever. All right, Bijan and Bucky here. I think we got to take McLaurin at this point. I also do like Garrett Wilson, but I'll go McLaurin, and let's see what happens. I do think Kyron would still be in play for me, too. Kyron, again, one of the better workloads in football in the red zone. That matters to me. But we got a Bijan, Bucky Irving, Terry McLaurin start here. No week 17 correlation yet, right? Atlanta plays Tampa Bay in week 15. Washington plays none of this stuff yet. That's fine. San Francisco easiest schedule based on preseason win totals. Okay, that's a good number. I had him there. Interesting to hear that. Did not see that on anybody else's stuff. This guy took double that. You're just throwing money away. Got into 2-hole with Lamar and Allen. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. You are, in fact, actively hurting your teams a lot. I know you have the gritty guy on Twitter or whatever who does that in every single draft. Double elite tight end is one of the worst strategies in football to actually help you win money. So I don't know. I don't know what people are doing, man. He is a period boy. When you're flowing red on DraftKings, our guy Robert from the Turd does call them period boys. which in 2025 is probably a different meaning than what he had initially intended. Jaden Daniels goes at 311. I was hoping there'd be some world that he would fall all the way back to 46, but that's it. Oh, good point. Double elite with the same buy. That is egregiously bad. That is really stupid. Sorry to Val Saraz if you're in the draft room. Learn from it. Don't do that. That's just like if you're playing project. This is what, by the way, this is what an optimizer would give you. If you had like a real best ball optimizer, it would go, yep, take some great QBs and take the number 1 RB and call it a day. But that's not how best ball works. It's not how you have the upside to win it all at the end. It might be how you advance in the regular season, but 2 elite QBs, probably not even that. That's that. People are shit on Gritty on Twitter. I don't get it, man. He's really not great at drafting. He doesn't listen well. He seems like a kind enough guy, though. So I don't shit on him on Twitter. But I don't know. Twitter, I mean, look, I can say personally, given the fucking weirdos on there's like one dude, who's an Underdog user who like tagged me in a tweet about like the downfall of civility in best ball because I guess John Warner on Badge Bros is like mean to the guy or something. And then he was like, it's Spags is doxing people. It's like, okay, again, somebody's saying somebody's town they publicly post of 50,000 people is not doxing them. It's just keeping people in check for knowing that I know you just as much as you might know me. The second part of it is like, there's like this community of dudes who are just like fucking idiots on Twitter. So I don't know. It is low hanging fruit. That's fair. I don't know. I think people like to feel better than other people. That's everything in social media. So they just like to be mean on that guy because it's easy to point to the flaws in his drafting. But frankly, you know, he doesn't have as good of a chance to win as anybody else. But if he does get to a final, he'll have a shot to win just like anybody else. I don't think he will, but ultimately, I would probably defend him more than I would shit on him. But it is bad drafting. And if you do something and spend as much money, like I think that's the biggest issue I have with best balls. Like people have such overconfidence with the thing, and it's like you shouldn't. Like even me as somebody that has worked last year, like worked at it every day of the year, and this year a little bit less so, but still very similar amounts. You just can't assume anything about best balls. Really, the big takeaway for me. We got McLaurin here. DJ Moore on the board, who I've been scooping up a lot as the ADP has dropped from a little bit. McMillan, I've gotten less of at this point. But I'll go DJ Moore here. Knowing these guys around the bend, they might just take Joe Burrow. Who knows? So let's see. David's take here. We know that CMC wasn't fully healthy. They've indicated they believe he's fully healthy. So with addition by subtraction, no Mason, no Mitchell. I'll draft him when he falls. They added in Jordan James is another back that can come in and take some volume. At least did it at Oregon. I still think Garendo, to me, flashed that he could be a feature back. They're not the cupboard's not barren for the Niners right now, and there's always going to be depth out there too that they can add. So I would caution against the assumption of volume for CMC, in particular in the red zone. But you guys, again, you can make your own clicks. I really do encourage everybody to make their own clicks. I'll judge you You do it on a stream and I'm in the room, but you should make your own clicks always. All right, we got Hurts coming back. McMillan's still here, which I do like. I think we need to make it up at receiver. Cortland Sutton, also okay. I think Ted McMillan is my click. The range he's been going in pre-draft as well, but that's fine. Carolina correlated for week 17 with Seattle, so that's nothing we have right now. No great correlation going so far unless there's something I'm missing, because I still do have to really get myself on week 17, let alone all the other weeks. The team so far is Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Ted McMillan. Definitely feels like we're missing that alpha piece. And I love McLaurin. You guys know if you watched streams last year, another one of my highest exposed players that ended up doing very well. Just don't think it's the same situation for him this year. And people don't realize this because they didn't watch every Commanders game like I did as somebody that basically put my entire reputation on Jaden Daniels and McLaurin having a good year last year. McLaurin got so many targets last year that were totally not McLaurin targets. He got 1 yard red zone targets, got slant routes in the red zone, got little rub routes in the end zone. Like that stuff right away is going to Debo. Like day one, that goes to Debo. So that's where I worry with McLaurin is like the flip side. He left a lot of 50-yard touchdowns on the field, like a lot, like more than, there's no way to say concretely more than anybody else in the NFL, but like having watched every Commanders game, it felt like there was one every week that could have been a 50-yard TD, 40-yard TD, and just like they didn't connect, or he dropped it, or he got tackled at the one while completing the pass. So say for McLaurin, there is still some upside, but like the baseline of touchdowns is going to drop so much. So like I don't love his ADP. I wish he were more, frankly, I wish he were more in the DJ Moore range, but people think Debo sucks, so I think that's why he's not. That's my concern for Washington. I still love Washington. I do think that I like them less this year than I did last year. I think they think they're a title contender, and I don't really think they are. I think they got a little bit lucky last year, and they don't have enough talent to actually make the run. That's my Washington thoughts for anybody who actually cares. DraftKings does seem to care a lot more about best ball this year. They've not updated George Pickens yet. Still showing here as a wide receiver. Let me take off the thing. Drafters logo. Wide receiver Pittsburgh. George Pickens here going at pick 60. Guys, show some love. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Goes a long way here for me. Just one dude running my channel, doing the best I can. Showing you guys the gambling across every best ball site, as nobody else out there in the space seems to want to do. But that's what I care about, because that's what I'm doing. I play like you guys do. I don't just play on one site that pays me. And that's sort of the thing that I think would go a long way in the industry. So subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment, do all those things if you can, and join the Discord too. $5 to join. Get a great community on there, particularly for the football stuff. Trying to get there more with baseball and with MLB, with NBA. But if you join there, you'll have a lot of people to talk about best ball with, myself included. You also get my various alerts for best ball. Either the things I'm putting out in terms of rankings, if you want to join the Squirt Squad tier or the VIP tier. And I do have my rankings updated already for Underdog. So I'll have to do the CSV for DraftKings and drafters. But that's out right now, so check it out. Join the channel, support if you can. All right, pick coming up here with our 30-second clock. Judkins always on the board when I click, no matter what. Odunze here, though, for the Chicago stuff, and that's where I'm going to go. We do have... Let's just go Odunze. Let's go Odunze. Let's see what these very smart guys around the corner do. I see another click I'd be pretty happy to make, but I'm not sold. These guys won't snipe it away here. Jennings goes. Wanted Jennings here at the Chicago stack, but our guy who has 2 receivers through 6, he needed Jennings, which frankly, if you're going to dig out of a hole at receiver, I think a Zay Flowers, Juwan Jennings start is pretty good for that guy. Double elite QB, still an awful click. Taking Kamara on top of that, not good moves. But frankly, Flowers and Jennings, if he sticks with receiver here, he could be getting himself out of the dire straits he was in. Let's see. See how good or bad of a drafter this guy in the 2-hole is. Another RB, bad drafter. Bad drafter. Got to take another receiver there. All right, so we got Caleb Johnson here, your presumptive Pittsburgh back. We got nothing with Tampa Bay, so we don't want to take Baker Mayfield. We've got 4 receivers. We don't need to take the 5th right now. The Shakir on a PPR side, I think, would not be a bad 5th. I'll go Caleb Johnson here. I don't love the price tag being so much higher than Jalen Warren. But he is more that traditional Najee Harris type of back, big-bodied guy, maybe not a lot of juice, but some juice. So Caleb Johnson, come on down. Guy got probably the best landing spot relative to not the highest draft capital of the draft. Is that actually probably him or Scadaboo, I think. Do Pearsall or Ayuk? Could have reached up for them. But another RB here, I think relative to ADP felt right. Got the slight discount on Caleb Johnson. We'll see what we get it back at 94. Probably no Niners coming back, though. But who knows? And shout out to all you guys hanging out here. I might do another drafter stream on Sunday. Not tomorrow, though, definitely, because I'm going to be on solo duty with the puppy and the kid in the morning. Stay tuned. Might have a draft this weekend coming because I got to hit my numbers for the month for drafters. So stay tuned here, but make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll get some alerts from me coming up. Golden in this room going at 83. I like Pollard more than people probably do, though I think he and Tyjae Spears should still be a little bit more flat. Pollard, to me, I think that last year he was sort of the poor man's equivalent of a lot of better RBs, where he did get good red zone work, did get good opportunity, but the offense was not good enough to actually get in position to give them that success. Let's look at Pollard's numbers. He was not efficient, but the team was shitty, so maybe give him some grace there. But negative 0.1 EPA per rush, negative 0.3 EPA per pass. 12% avoided tackle rate's not that good. But 2.1 red zone rushes a game is pretty good. That's like that second tier of red zone back workload that we don't mind. I think one of Pollard or Spears would feel pretty good. I don't really think for Tennessee that there's a big risk of somebody like Khalil Mullings coming in and mattering that much. So still like Pollard. But I don't talk about Tony Pollard much. I honestly, I mean, I talked about Cam Ward before. I like Tennessee. I like what Tennessee's done. Don't think they're going to be too good on either side of the ball. I think offensively, like Cam Ward will be good enough to make the pass catchers around him better. And I think the defense will be mediocre enough as well that he'll be, having to throw in games a good amount. Cam Ward got no primetime games this year either, so he'll be on a lot of main slates, and I think he is a very fun play. All right, big run on QB here, and this guy fucking took Caleb Williams. Unstacked Caleb Williams for fucking what? All right, well, Caleb got sniped, so that's sick. Ayuk is here. We'll take Ayuk as our Chicago bring back. Oh, that is infuriating. Again, I really think it's just people panic here and just take whatever fucking QB because they see a bunch of QBs going in a row. It's not the way to do this. It's not the way to play this beautiful sport that we love. Like the idea of Chicago versus SF. Both have high potential, and Caleb and Purdy can go around the same spot, so harder to snipe. Yeah, we'll fucking see. We'll fucking see how hard it is for Brock Purdy to not get sniped. I feel like the elite QB guy's going to go, oh, you know what really make this team pop is paired Brock Purdy with Juwan Jennings. That's the way these guys think. These sick bastards. Fucking unstacked Caleb. Unstacked Caleb does nothing for you. Absolutely nothing. It's not going to spread out the target share that much. This guy better take Loveland. Damn it. All right, Dak goes. That doesn't matter to us. Brock Purdy still here. Fine. QB1 Brock Purdy. So Purdy stacked up. Big return for Brandon Ayuk coming, hopefully. We've got a 1-3-5-0 build here. No tight end in yet. We can hopefully make it up later on. Purdy, Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving, double elite RB feels really good right now. Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Tet McMillan, Romo Dunze, Caleb Johnson, Brandon Ayuk. This is a risky wide receiver room, I have to say. Like, all these guys are either coming back from something, having somebody coming in that can take the workload, getting drafted to a spot where there's already talent at receiver that the QB likes. That concerns me a little, but they're all talented guys I think look pretty good. So that's that. And as an period guy, I did need somebody to cover his bye week. Yeah, he took Dak Prescott unstacked because he had to make up for Lamar and Josh Allen missing week 7. For the record, if you take Lamar and Josh Allen and you really think that's a good play, just don't take the third QB. If you do take it, take Tyler Shuck for free later on or something. You've made your bet already more than enough at QB at that point. You don't really need to, to take a guy in the top 100. Holy crap. Gonna be a fun pod here. Get the man a Tampa. He needs to clog up his drafting pattern right now. He cannot stop taking QB. Stroud going early to short gamer. Jesus. Guess he didn't want to risk losing him. He might as he lost Higgins too. I'd probably just let Stroud go at that point, even if you have Nico. But I guess the run on QB. The run on QB, man, from 80 to 100. I know we've talked about it a few times in the stream, but that's like, to me, that's the biggest theme of the year is like, people just not knowing how to handle QB, taking random guys unstacked, that being a really stupid part that's popping up more than ever. But then also the fact that people just like panic in a room whenever they see the QBs going, and then they just take whatever they possibly can. That's sometimes correlated, sometimes not. If you're short, like a sharp guy, like short gamer, you'll take something correlated. But like the dullards will just take any QB because they're scared of not having a QB. Really got to plan around this spot more. Always prepare to a lot a pick. Like if you want to complete your stack, prepare to a lot an 8th round pick to your QB. Though frankly, I still would have gotten sniped then anyway. God, is QB going to get pushed up because people are afraid of getting sniped on their QBs / they're taking them recklessly? Because that wouldn't be shocking. All right, we got Loveland, Herbert here. Of course, it's the genius Caleb Drafter going to take his tight end. Let's see. Cabinacci here, who had to get Caleb Williams. You just want an unstacked Caleb Williams? You don't want to take anybody with him? Is that how this is going to go? Okay, no, he did take Loveland. There you go. He's so smart. So smart, so handsome. Herbert, Njoku, ATN. ATN kind of a fun click here. Just make the bet and hope it works out. I'm going to go ATN. He's my RB4 here. I think that can make for a really solid RB room potentially. And if he is dust, it won't matter that much because I have Bucky Irving and Bijan Robinson. So that's the bet we're going to make here. Got another click coming up. Give the dog some beef jerky because she's being a good dog. She's not trying to escape the entire stream. It's a positive. Bashal Tootin goes here. He is behind an ADP, ATN on this site, even though he is moving past ATN on other sites out there. All right. Need to think about another QB as well. I guess there's an obvious one that we could take later on. Njoku is still here. Nobody really wants to take Njoku. And I do not love this pocket. I'm going to take a Jaden Blue share if that click went through. Not a big believer in Jaden Blue at this ADP, but I really don't love this QB heavy pocket, and nobody here really speaks to me because there's a logical stack partner for me to hit later on. So I am just going to take Jaden Blue and ATN. So we have Brock Purdy, Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Tet McMillan, Romo Dunze, Caleb Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Etienne, Jaden Blue. So I guess we have some Dallas-Washington correlation for week 17, even though that was not really an intentional thing here. I just kind of wanted to share Jaden Blue, and it felt like a good time to do it. So that's what we're going to do. Getting hot in here. Right from the electricity running, computers and stage lights here. I'm getting sweaty. I'd like to believe it's from all the effort that I put in here doing 3 drafts on different platforms, but probably not so much. Let's see what we get around the bend. Javonte Williams there was the other RB click up top. I really do not want to click Javonte over Jaden Blue. I really don't want to click Javonte or Miles Sanders at all at their ADPs right now. Sanders, at least, I guess, is free. But Javonte was so awful last year. He got good volume, but the efficiency was really low in a pretty good offense. 0.16 EPA per rush, 0.05 EPA per pass, 13% rounding up, avoided tackle rate, not very good. Got targeted a lot because they really wanted to make him work. He got 1.8 red zone rushes a game, 0.3 red zone targets a game, but nothing that good overall in the underlying numbers. So for Javonte, he's just the dude. He might get there in Dallas because he might be the best just a dude out of all of them. But Jaden Blue, I think, at least has some athletic profile that matters, some speed. So what's that? Oh, kitty. The dog's head is on me too. That's making me hotter. You're doing great. Just gonna fan myself. I'm gonna move my shirt around a little bit so I can be sexy for you guys, tease you a little, while also letting air into my chest. Rashid Shaheed at pick 136, I think feels pretty nice. If we're gonna assume that Tyler Shuck is better than I think, and that Kellen Moore knows more than me, which I think is a good assumption. All right. We need some tight ends desperately. We got no tight ends yet. Overall, a 1550 build. Need QB2 as well. Once this douchebag makes his click. I feel like him sniping me on Caleb really is what threw this team off. The feng shui of this team. Much lower than it could have been. I'm going to go Thielen here. Another bet on Carolina. And then we're going to wait. Oh, I think I'm going to wait on QB. It might just be the move to go up and get Bryce. The issue is Jordan Love is hanging around this long, so I shouldn't go up and get Bryce, is how I'd feel about it. For the record, the dog's head is on me does not mean a blowjob. I don't want this dog to blow me, given that she's very bitey. She's got little sharp teeth, and she insists on showing them at every turn. Trey Benson goes. That's a nice click. I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like you just take Jordan Love and do a late stack. Green Bay plays Baltimore week 17. We don't really have any Baltimore. Yeah, I'm just going to take Jordan Love here. This is too many spots after ADP. 27 spots after ADP for Jordan Love. I presume because the guys who have Jaden Reed and Golden don't need more QBs. Yeah, the Jaden Reed / the Golden guy has Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. Where's the Jaden Reed guy? The Jaden Reed guy has the 3 elite QBs like an idiot, or 2 elite QBs and Dak Prescott. So that's why Jordan Love is just floating around for no reason. But at this point, I need a second QB. I'm just going to take Jordan Love, and I'll figure it out. Maybe get a rare Luke Musgrave stack later on. Should give the team a read because, frankly, I need it as much as you guys do. The team right now, Brock Purdy, Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving. At wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Tet McMillan, Romo Dunze right behind him. Then we got Caleb Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Etienne, Jaden Blue. So a little more RB capital than we needed. I think the Jaden Blue pick was a little bit of a panic one by me. Thielen, Jordan Love here. So I like getting Jordan Love for free. I got to figure out how that actually relates in terms of stacking them up. Probably means just grabbing shitty Baltimore or shitty Green Bay guys and maybe a shitty Baltimore guy later on. But we can do that. Could basically take the Dobbs Wick stack I took last time, but just do it with Love. That's my dog's. I don't think she has a preference, but she's only had Skippy so far. I know we're saying that in the implication that she would be, again, licking it off my crotch or something, which really don't want a dog to do. Really, I'm the only person in the house she doesn't bite regularly. And yesterday we were outside for a minute and she just like leapt up and like bit my finger. I'm like, what the fuck was that for? So, again, do not trust any dangling appendage with the dog. Just getting her ass to come in and all of a sudden she ran over. It's like, wow, just fucking piranha'd me. Not my fave. Still the most docile dog I've ever had, but fucking puppy teeth, man. Way worse. And also puppies with a toddler. Really thought it'd be easier with me. This being like my third dog and my first 2 dogs were a lot harder to train. But having a toddler with a dog, it's just like impossible. Can't get him to fucking help train the dog for shit. And he just does. He's like waving around, waving his arms around and shit. And like, no, kitty, don't bite me. Like, gee, I wonder why she's trying to bite you and you're making all your limbs look really desirable to leap up and try to attack. But you try to tell that to a toddler and oh boy, he doesn't get it. He doesn't fucking know. But one day he'll get there. For having 100 scratches from a dog. Looks like we hit him with a switch when he comes home. All right, we got picks coming up here. Still need to hit that old tight end pretty hard. Probably some similar culprits will get there. All right, come on, make your picks, guys. The one guy in front of me has to time out every time. I feel like this is like a slow draft. Oh, Adrian Peterson got busted for a DUI lately, but he does approve of the switch. He got busted for a DUI, I think, on NFL draft day or something. He's had he's low-key been a more fucked up guy than people, I think, realize. Because he wasn't really as much in the internet news area where everybody knows everything, I guess. He wasn't peak fame at the time frame. He had his controversies. Between the kids stuff and the DUIs, a bit of a mess. I think we should take the third QB here. Bryce Young still around. We can do that. So Bryce Young, third QB in. We've got the double stack with Carolina, with Tet and with Thielen. So we're just going to go that way. Obviously a very pliable, viable tight end we could take late as well. But we'll take Bryce Young as a third QB. Because really don't feel like I have the full weight of a Niners stack. Adding Love, that does nothing stack-wise for me. He'll be a player that gives me some points, but I don't think he's going to give me enough points every week. So I think getting a third QB in like Bryce Young, who ran a little bit last year, showed some upside, has better targets this year. I think Bryce Young, to me, is a very comfortable second stack in general. But here, we already had the team, so we might as well. Peterson's really dumb? Sure. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I think if you're that good at football, there's a decent chance that you are going to be perhaps a little more dumb in other aspects. We're just going to do the Green Bay stacking. We got Dobbs here. Mason Taylor I could take for the 100th time, but I'm not going to do it. So Romeo Dobbs, come on down. Dobbs, Wicks, Savion, all very much in the mix potentially here for me with that Jordan Love late addition. But we now have a 3-5-7-3. We are done at RB. I'm legally not allowed to add another RB. So we got to add in 3 tight ends late, at least, maybe 4 if things align correctly. The team again is at QB, Brock Purdy. We also added on Jordan Love as a huge ADP discount and Bryce Young, who we actually have stacked up. At RB, Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving. At wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Tet McMillan as our starting group there. The Romo Dunze behind them. Caleb Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Etienne, Jaden Blue, Adam Thielen. The 2 QBs, Jordan Love and Bryce Young, and Romeo Dobbs. I think I'm doing okay here. Pushing tight end a little bit too much in rooms lately. I think if I don't get McBride or Bowers, but frankly, I've not gotten a lot of Bowers overall lately. I feel like post NFL draft, I haven't gotten any Bowers really. I'm just not getting these middle tier tight ends. I just go basically to pick 100 or later at tight end, and a lot of times even later than that. I think it's one of my flaws overall in my process, though it didn't hurt me too much last year. In fact, tight end actually was one of my saving graces because the late tight ends spiked a lot for me, including Chickaconquo. Just some dog shit tight ends were the ones that carry me. Some of my finalist teams. I'm a little too comfortable with late tight end. I'm comfortable going, yeah, I'll throw 3-4 tight ends to the problem, and that's that. That's not really the best way to draft. I should probably get a little more balanced. So, oh well. Peterson won the rushing title the year after his suspension. Okay. So the timeline's off. But I think it was still one of those things where, I don't know. Maybe it's more that the weight of time passes. I guess, honestly, Peterson as a whole, he was the most important player in football for you guys who are a little bit younger than I am out there. And a lot of the chat as well. He's the most important guy in football. And now I feel like nobody even thinks of him. People still go Barry Sanders, even Emmitt Smith, people know that he was a good player, even though he was also a guy that was all volume and not really, a juice guy like Barry Sanders was. I feel like Adrian Peterson is one of those guys that's just kind of going to get lost in the sands of time a little bit more than he should. I think people know Tomlinson more now than they do Adrian Peterson. But he was great. Top 5 all time for you? Okay. I would need to go back and see the numbers again through the prism of what I have now. But great volume for sure. The thing I remember with Adrian Peterson was when I was at USC. It was when he was, still a freshman in college. Was one of my years at USC, or a freshman. He might have been a senior in high school, about to be a freshman in college. And the debate was should Adrian Peterson be allowed to like go to the pros? Because like he's probably the most pro ready prospect coming out of high school. And like that was the thing we talked about in one of my sports business classes or whatever I take another time. And I remember being like, yeah, like from what I've seen, like he should probably just go to the pros. But obviously, he had his 3 years in college and played well enough. But he was one of those guys where people thought, even back then, that he could have made the leap. You've forgotten and talked about terms. That's the way to view it. Because we're all like really social media in general, but I think people in general really prisoners of the moment now as much as ever. And, guys like that could easily get forgotten through the sands of time. All right, we got a pick coming up here. We do desperately need more tight ends, and I think that's going to be a priority down the home stretch because we still have 0. So that's, when you have 0, you got to get 1 at the very least. And I think it's going to start here, not with Terrence Ferguson, who I do think is an interesting prospect, but with Higbee there, I just don't think he should be going as high as he is. Okonkwo, for Tennessee, they added another tight end in, but Okonkwo flashed a lot down the home stretch. I think earned some trust there. And Cam Ward's going to be a better player at QB than Chig has ever seen. And I think going to make the team a lot better. So Chig Okonkwo, my first tight end in. And I was going to scroll down the board, but we only have a couple picks here, so I'll just wait. But our first of our 4 tight ends potentially is Chig Okonkwo. Frankly, I could make the case for 5 tight ends. Let's really blow it out and try to get some mediocre scores to keep me afloat. Isaac Tesla going here. Crazy. Taysom Hill, again, just don't trust the recovery from the knee for a guy who's in his mid-30s and very injured. Schultz, I don't love. Juwan, Higbee, I think are similar clicks to me. I'm going to go Juwan here. Just think he's undervalued. I think he should be higher ranked than all these guys. There's not a lot of tight ends that got paid as much as Juwan Johnson did this offseason. Obviously, the guys that got new deals like McBride and Kelsey. Kelsey got another one? Somebody got a new deal. Who got the deal before? Oh, Kittle. Kittle got the one before McBride. Or after McBride. Those guys getting new deals or whatever, they're very strong plays. For everybody else, though, like Juwan Johnson got the best contract of everybody else who was like a free agent out there. Draft Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer. I don't know that he's going to get traded. Nobody took him out the draft, and I feel like he's been out there in the market for a while, so that would worry me a little bit. 4 tight end is an awful in 20 deep drafts. The thing is, I feel good enough about my other rooms. I feel really good about RB. Feel pretty good right now about wide receiver. We could add a little bit more on top of that for sure. But I feel good about the rooms, so I don't really care at this point about just dumping a bunch of capital into tight end and seeing what comes out of it. I've got at least 1 more tight end in mind that'll hopefully come back. Beyond that, we'll see. But yeah, a 4 tight end build in Underdog, probably not the move. DraftKings, drafters, when you have 20 rounds, if you're like me and you keep forgetting to take tight ends at reasonable pockets, just taking 4 late tight ends can do the job, especially if they have that, Gesicki level of upside. I don't see why not. Also, 2 hours, 20 minutes of drafting, and I am just finishing up the 16-ounce beer. So reasonable pace by me. If you appreciate your streamers being really good at drinking 1 beer throughout a multi-hour stream, subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Again, it all goes a long way for me here as I show you guys my work here as best I can. I deal with the weirdos who have to get in every draft room. And again, that's not most people. That's literally 1 dude. But for you guys out there, if you are here, please show some love if you can. Hit the like button, subscribe, because frankly, there are a lot of days, I still love drafting teams, still love the gambling aspect of best ball. The process of it does wear you down, especially when people make it weird for you. So show some love. That helps make it better for me. And let's see what this guy, who is clearly not autoing, but is timed out on many picks. Let's see what he does next. He's had the thought process of a goldfish throughout the draft. But now in round 18 is when he's really going to put it all together. He goes, oh, that's not a good sign. If that guy likes Brashard Smith, I'd worry for all you guys out there to like Brashard Smith. We're going to go up and get Jatavian Sanders here. Tight end at this point, pretty flat to me. Jatavian Sanders correlates. He's your number 1 tight end for Carolina, theoretically. Certainly wasn't great in year 1. Sanders last year, 0.2 EPA per target is better than I would have thought. 15% target per out run, though, pretty much average replacement level tight end. 0.4 red zone targets a game, not bad for a rookie who wasn't really deeply involved in the offense, though. So I think there's time for Jatavian Sanders to look better in the future. That's going to be my hope. And he stacks up with Bryce Young either way. I keep saying how weird it is. He's going to keep doing it, I guess. I mean, he can keep doing it for what he wants. Shout out to Jacob here. Thanks for the content. Craving an IPA. IPAs go down smooth. I do think calorically at some point in life, I should just switch to seltzers again. That was the best time of my life, man. Getting buzzed and then still not taking many calories. For the IPAs, though, I really will recommend the Stone Cold IPA. Hey, again, look how sick this is. Like, especially if you're a late 90s pro wrestling fan at all. But really my favorite beer can in terms of like, it just feels nice. It's like a nice, you're gonna hear that sound. Not many beer cans make that nice sound. Higbee goes here. He frankly would have been in contention to be my 4th tight end. I really don't need anything else. So I'm just going to take my 4th tight end here and go Theo Johnson, who's going to be your starter for the Giants. Freak athlete last year. If you forgot that he was an RAS stud. But, you know, people don't like Theo very much. He didn't show a whole lot in year 1. Actually, we'll look up Theo's numbers in a second here once we scroll the board down. Here we go. We're getting blue. What am I smurfing here? Am I leaking Smurfs out of my dick with 4 blue players in a row? But Chig, Juwan Johnson, Jatavian Sanders, Theo Johnson, the all-stars of late tight ends here. Theo Johnson last year. I know the numbers are not impressive. So negative 0.06 EPA per target. We don't love to see that. 13% target per out run. We really don't love to see that. No red zone targets at all the entire year, or at least he didn't qualify for him. I guess he maybe could have gotten one, didn't finish in the top 500 of target earners out in the red zone. So either way, Theo Johnson not involved enough in the red zone would be a concern point. 0.3 deep targets a game is not bad. 0.6 EPA on those. He's big and an athlete, and it'll be a better team. So Theo Johnson, that'd be the hope. Theo Johnson got hurt late in the playoffs. He got hurt, I think, amidst his best game of the year, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think I had him in DFS or maybe on some lineups. Theo Johnson game log. I think he got hurt like week 16, maybe week 17. A little bit earlier than that. Oh, was it Thanksgiving when he got hurt? That was it. Yeah. So he got hurt the 28th. Played entire year besides that. He was coming on at this point, though. 5 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets. He's going to get better QB play no matter what this year. Again, no matter who plays for the Giants, it's really the biggest thing to me of the Giants. No matter who plays, you're going to get either Russ, you're going to get probably Jameis, I think, at some point of the year when Russ inevitably gets hurt, because that's sort of where he is in his career. And then at the end of the year, you get Jackson Dart. All good things for the pass-catching core there. Even though it makes it hard to stack, still think those guys are all very much in the hunt in the pass game for the Giants. We got one more click here. You could tell me to do a 5th tight end, and I really wouldn't be mad about it. I feel good at every position. I mean, is Wicks still available? If Wicks is available, that would be the one thing. Yeah, Wicks is gone. Could do Savion. Let's just make a little queue. Savion Williams here. Wicks got drafted. Could do Musgrave. I just don't trust that Michael Mayer goes somewhere else. I would take somebody who's projectable at this point. Like Ferguson's still available. I mean, frankly, could take Musgrave for the Green Bay correlation. We've got 4 tight ends, though. I will go instead with Savion Williams. Not going to be a click I make a lot this year, but he is a big body dude that TCU wanted to get targets to. Maybe Green Bay will feel the same with where they drafted him. So my final team here is Brock Purdy, Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving. So real elite capital RB that's hopefully going to carry us pretty far. McLaurin, DJ Moore, Tet McMillan, Chikakonko, our first tight end. That is tough, but that's why we drafted 4 of them. Romo Dunze, Caleb Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Etienne, Jaden Blue, Adam Thielen, part of the Carolina stack we're about to hit. Jordan Love, we got stacked up. Bryce Young, Romeo Dobbs, part of that Jordan Love stack we got with Love basically for free. 27 picks after ADP. Tight end room is Juwan Johnson, Jatavian Sanders, and Theo Johnson behind Chig. And Savion Williams here. There we go. Chad, first ever drafted me and got Johnson. And you got Johnson from you to finish off your New Orleans stack. Oh, sorry, Chad. But brave of you to take a Tyler Shuss stack. That's the main thing I would say. But glad to see you in here. Glad you had a good draft. Hope you feel good about it, Chad. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. Again, if you are watching these streams, please show some love. Subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. I'm the only drafter who's doing shit like this because everybody else has their deals. I made my deal so I could actually cover everything here and try to actually serve my community a little bit better. It sounded really pretentious, but like to serve you guys more. Like I know you guys want DraftKings drafts, you want drafters drafts, you want underdog drafts. Obviously, I'm here to do it all for you guys this summer. So we hit all 3 on Fridays. That's my goal to do this every single week. So show some love if you can. Subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. Check out the sponsors. In particular, if you want to get some overlay stuff, check out the Solver. That's linked down below. I have to make a new ad for it. But if you want to check out the Draft Assistant, you can do that with our promo code SPLASH down below. Same thing with Best Ball Overlay. If you want to get some overlay help for yourself, they're real-time assistants. Both these tools do very similar things. Best Ball Overlay, also an independent company. So if you want to support them over ETR, support the Dog Pound guy and his buddy Josh. It's a good way to do that as well. It's a great product on there, even though I keep forgetting to update it on screen. Unabated, 20% off. Link down below. Stochastic, 15% off. For Unabated too, check out their WNBA stuff. You want to take advantage of a sport people aren't paying enough attention to. That's one to do it with. And of course, the big sponsor here is Drafters. Check them out. You saw me draft them earlier. First draft of the video. Full point PPR in there. No playoff pods. So the luck component goes out the window a little bit more. It's all about building the best teams to make you the most points over 17 weeks. And I've finished well in there. If that top 100 finishers, top 10 finisher last year in the playoff best ball tournament, that's what you have for yourself without a lot of entries being put in. So your money will go further on Drafters. That $100 deposit match, use promo code SPLASH. And show some love if you can. Go sign up over there because they do help me put on the show directly here by paying me to do streams. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time on here. And I'll be back maybe this weekend, but hit the notification bell. Certainly live a bunch of times next week. So watch one of those. I'll see you guys then. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Have a good weekend and see you guys soon. Bye-bye.